microphone. There we go. Okay. Move the chat over to here. We're now streaming live. All right, so I'll see you over in the chat over there. All right, so I think we're good to go on the stream, so that's golden. Oops. All righty. All right, let's see here. Let's do a little registration. So yeah, if you want to talk, let's do it in the YouTube channel. Because that way I don't have to watch two different chat channels. Assuming I can get the chat to work. Come on, chat, you can do it. There we go. Chat is up and running. And we are good to go. How's everyone doing this morning? Welcome to the chat. Welcome to YouTube. We're making a super group because people want it. The city demands it, as they like to say. And yeah, who am I but a man of the people? I'm just a man of the people. So we'll get this going. Let's come up with a name, guys. Let's do this. Let's come up with a name. Oh, welcome aboard, Tacticianer. Yeah, we've been chatting all morning. You've been listening to Old Man Cranky Phil. You've been listening to Old Man Cranky Phil all morning. Wait a minute. Can villains join? Can you have villains and heroes join the same supergroup on Homecoming? I want to say yes. Hey, Robert. Yeah, so I wonder if I should do this with my Boar Queen, because that's who I did before. Was my Boar with my Boar Queen, but now I know people that might be a little too controversial. It might be a little too much. People, hey, how's it going? We are streaming and chatting today. You can catch me on the stream there and stuff. I'm just hanging and chatting while doing the thing. Oh, you know, it's kind of like streams are just like podcasts, just less formal. Just depends on how you look at it. We got a couple of chit-chatters in the stream, so you can keep up with the chat if you're watching there. Let me go grab a link. I will grab a link so we can put that into the channel for everyone to join. Uh-oh. Gonna have some echo there. We don't want echo. Echo, echo, echo. Let's see. Discord. There we go. Making a supergroup. Let's come up with a name for a supergroup base. Yeah. I doubt I could come up with something too. I'm gonna guess that one is already taken. Captain, Commander, Lieutenant Commander. I just know Star Trek. What can I tell you? Oh, except I can never spell the word lieutenant to save my life. I think hell will freeze over before I could spell lieutenant correctly without looking it up. Yeah, I made like a C- in English. I think ensign just looks like ensign. Let me make sure. Yeah, ensign. Yeah, got that right. And then crew member. I like how I call lieutenant ensign, but captain is lieutenant because they got general, commander, leader. I'm not gonna get. I think that's more army, but. Oh, you get to pick your emblem. I like how all these icons are stretched because resolutions have changed. So they're not quite what they used to be. Yep. A little bit of chit chat there for you guys for Tactics Ogre. Oh, I think we'll just take the. We'll take the P. There we go. Hmm. Oh yeah, it was a slow burn game that just felt remember playing it back in the day. Felt like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? So, it's a problem with a lot of turn-based games where pacing's kind of an issue and stuff, and it just, there usually a lot of the problem sometimes is once you get past the hump, the rest is a foregone conclusion, but it's got to slowly play out. In my tabletop games, I can sit there and go, oh, you're down to half enemies, the rest run away, or they surrender, and we just call it. Yeah, we don't sit there and drag it out, so... so it is what it is. But that is, and then a lot of them, they don't really have any sort of command just to speed up that end and just have it auto take over. I mean, so in gold box games back in the 1980s, you got to the last half, you just hit the quick command and finish it up in like literally 10 seconds. So... Alright, this is done. This is off my to-do list, guys. Boom. Alright. All done. That's how easy it is to set up a supergroup now. Getting into the permissions and playing with the permissions is another fun little chore in and of itself. But I really think this stuff is just not something we use quite as much in the year 2025 of our Lord and Savior. So it is just kind of gone the way of the dinosaur. But it is now at least set up. I don't think I'll if I can go into permissions here, coalitions, enter SG mode. Settings, raid, refresh. Where do I set up the permissions? I have done this before years ago. Click for edit permissions. There we go. So you have all the different permissions for ensign, lieutenant, whatever. You can set up here. Edit mottos, promote members, kick members, invite members. Begin raid. Change message of the day. Emblem in color. Spend raid points. I don't think we even use raid points in the game anymore. Auto demotion. That's funny. Modifying the base. Pay the base upkeep. We don't do that anymore. So there we go. Yeah, so we'll schedule arena events. Who's doing that? I don't think anyone's doing that. Like a lot of this stuff just doesn't really even work anymore, you know? So there you go. Let's see. There's your invite. Now I'm gonna do a couple of missions with these corruptors, and then I'll do a duo with somebody if they want. But I just want to see how well these guys handle solo. So today's a corruptor day for me. I'm gonna start with Yorin Icehole. His mother thought long and hard about his name. He is something else. And he's even got his own artwork. There you go. He's a dynamic pirate. And we'll keep him in this direction. All right. We'll take him out for a spin run and see if we can do some things with old Yorin here. Whose character art I totally made up with the randomizer. Yeah, but yeah, you know, I definitely got an impression from Tactics Ogre a long time ago. It was just essentially a product of its time. I don't have the memory that even back in its time it was like, oh, this is Final Fantasy Tactics good, or anywhere close, right? I never got the impression back then it was like, from reviews and people who played it, like, it's the game that you just want to play, you know, over and over again or anything like that. You know, this is one thing I point out to people is like, especially in my worldview, where a game gets a 4 out of 4 if it's a game you want to play over and over again. How many people were going back and playing Tactics Ogre for second, third, fourth run-throughs? A couple, don't get me wrong. It wasn't zero. But stop it, cat. You can't eat crackers. Stupid cat. But yeah. Does he have long-range teleporter? He does. Okay. Does he have mission teleporter? He does not. He does have reveal, though. So yeah. Yeah, so it was kind of like its thing in its day. And for whatever reason, they've remastered that 3 times, but it took them this long to do a Final Fantasy Tactics remaster. Like I said, I think it's a good. I never said it was like a negative. I'm like, it's a good game, but it's not a great game. That's the thing. Like, that's the impression. Like, when Final Fantasy Tactics came out, people couldn't stop talking about it, and years later, people can't stop talking about it. Right? You hardly run into anybody who grew up in the PlayStation era playing RPGs who doesn't talk about Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy Tactics. Right? Final Fantasy IX has its core followers, and then there's one follower for Final Fantasy VIII. Suikoden, ton of followers, right? People love Suikoden, right? A lot of people love Suikoden. You can name off the PlayStation 1 classic RPGs. Now, Tactics Ogre, I think originally was before PlayStation 1, but it had a big re-release, another remaster with a beautiful, I believe that was the one, if I'm thinking of it correctly. It had a beautiful, like, release with collateral and all kinds of stuff for you to enjoy. And yet, yeah, you really, at the end of the day, I didn't hear nearly as many people talking about it, wanting to play it over and over, you know, years later asking for a remaster. All I heard is people like, when are they ever going to remaster Final Fantasy Tactics? When are we going to get Suikoden, which thankfully now we have that. You know, these are the types of things you would kind of hear about. I just didn't hear about. I think I heard about Ogre Battle more than Ogre Tactics, and Ogre Battle's pretty niche. Well, you don't need to grind. Like I didn't grind. I didn't grind hardly at all in that game. I don't think and I'm not familiar enough with the meta because I didn't feel like it was super necessary for me to beat the game. To know that if it's one of those games where you need to grind in order to get more powerful, or if it's just to grind to open up more choices, right? If it's horizontal progression, not. To be fair here, I'm biting off a little more than I should be chewing at the moment. But yeah. So I couldn't tell you, but I didn't feel like it is a necessarily grindy game. I think people want to make it a grindy game because they just want to get everything they can out of that battle system they like so much. And so it gets a little bit of a reputation, I think. It's a means to an end if you want to open up more pathways. If you want it to be like, okay, I want this, I want to have access to a particular high-end skill set from different classes all at once on one character, then you're going to be grinding the JP. Now, if you go and if you go in with a plan, you can maximize your time and work efficiently to where you're not grinding JP unnecessarily. Like, for example, if I have this one character and I don't know which way I'm going to go with that character, so I level up Wizard, and then I level up, I'm just making up classes here, Black Mage, I suppose, and Sword Master. But then later on it turns out, you know what, I really want them to be an Alchemist. Then in a way, I've wasted all of my time. If I'm not going to use those class abilities, I've wasted all my time. So, but if I went in there with a plan, I would save a lot of time. Also, a lot of good classes and a lot of good plans don't require a whole lot of grind. It really is like if you're just going to level up a Black Mage, for example, with the White Mage as a backup so you have a better selection of spells, and I don't know why this is broken, then I'm going to have to reboot the game. But if that's what you're doing, then all you have to do is just, you'll have that by the end of the game, no problem. You'll have those classes mastered without grinding. So I don't really see it as a necessarily grindy game. I wouldn't worry about that. It's just there if you want it. But you can't just walk up to the game and say, I want all these classes, I want these abilities. The game will stare at you back and say, well, if you want to cross the bridge, you got to pay the toll. I mean, the thing is, I think this thing is broken. Yeah, this thing is hanging up when I try to enter this mission. But the thing, I've really never had this problem before in this game. I don't know if any of you guys have had, hey, squirrel. I can't get into this mission, squirrel. Like, I click on the door, I get the hourglass, the game doesn't know what to do, and then after 30 seconds it gives up. So I'll just abandon this mission, start over. But the thing is, the game can get its hooks into you, as it has many other people, to where you're like, but what if I was to mix this class with that one? Well, now I do need to level up to see the what that full class will do, and see if that's a good mix, and experiment. And so it encourages you to, it doesn't hold a gun to your head and say, if you don't do this, you can't beat the game. It's going to sit there and say, well, if you want more toys to play with out of the toy box, you're going to have to pay for them. You're going to need to go out and do the work and earn the JP. And hopefully have fun doing it, because while you're leveling up the JPs, you're already opening up new skills with every so many fights. You're trying out different tactics with your new skills. Like when I first opened up Calculator, which was a little bit of a grind to get, just because I want to say I love math. So I'm like, how does this calculator work? Well, the way I look at it is, in a way, it's a predictable chaos mage. So let's say you had a mage that when they cast spells, they weren't following the normal pattern of, I get to put a fireball exactly right here, and it hits these people. But rather, it's left up to the whims of chance. You always hear like some oracles go, well, I go where the winds lead me, and they tell me where to go. And now they've determined those 3 people are going to get burned. And so, thematically, I think of the calculator wizard in Final Fantasy as the person who follows the winds in a manner of speaking of chance, but rather than just being the pure whim of cosmetic gods who are fickle, it's based on on the mathematical numbers of the universe that no one ever really truly thinks about. Like, exactly what is your age? All right, everybody with an age that ends in 2 just got hit with a fireball. And so that's how I rationalize it anyways in my head, mathematically. The janitor class, obviously gun removal, okay. Server-side lag problem, it might be. We're going to try this mission again. We're going to reset the mission, and of course in City of Heroes, when you reset missions, you get new random door locations for your missions, because heaven forbid it actually sends you to the exact same location twice in a row. So we're gonna actually, I have the teleporter unlocked since I was just there. We'll go over to Perez Park now and see if it'll work this time. So yeah, the calculator was kind of an interesting one. But yeah. I honestly, you can definitely get through the game with the core classes and enjoy that experience and have a good time with it. If the classes don't interest you enough to want to engage with those extra systems, and you can still do plenty of min-maxing and mixing and matching within those base classes. Right, you can still have an alchemist fire, for example, or a fighter white mage who feels like a paladin. Okay, I got into the mission this time, so. You can certainly do that without having to engage with the grind a whole lot. I have faith in you. No, I just said I have faith in you. No. I mean, it's fun enough. To me, it was more engaging than Tactics Ogre, which had these really huge maps that just drug on and on and on, with a lot of different too many characters on each side, in my opinion, that further drags out the fights and stuff. I played enough of Tactics Ogre to know I preferred Final Fantasy Tactics battle system more. The battle, the fields are more confined, so it gets more to the point faster. If you're not going to have an auto battle to quickly speed things up in particular, then at least keep the group small and keep the combats kind of focused. They feel more like skirmishes in Final Fantasy, which is probably better, I think, than Tactics Ogre. So no. I mean, your mileage is going to vary, obviously, but I would point out that it probably didn't get the really great reviews it did. Plus, it's millions and millions of fans who adored the game for years and years and years and demanding remakes and sequels. if the battle system wasn't thoroughly engaging. Because at the end of the day, a tactics RPG really does kind of live and die by its battle system. I don't care if the story's good or not. You know, if you have like a mediocre or boring battle system and a really great story, then you've got a great visual novel. But not a game somebody wants to play more than once. So I would, you know, I'd point out to that to you as things to be hopeful about, because unless you're just a person like me who regularly doesn't agree with the masses, then I think you can safely go in there assuming that the chances are you're going to enjoy the battle system and therefore enjoying the grinding is only grinding when battle systems are boring. Like that's one of Phil's favorite sayings. Well, it is always subjective. It is subjective. Yeah. Well, a lot of that has to do with difficulty too, right? Obviously, if you're just cruising through a bunch of really super easy fights versus a battle system that has a good balanced difficulty, it's engaging, it has, you know, is it just attack, heal, which is always one of my complaints about JRPGs. I mean, obviously everyone, when I make my statement the way I do because it is subjective. If you find the battle system fun, and that is subjective, then you won't feel like you're grinding in a game. If you don't enjoy a battle system, like City of Heroes is a great example, right? Someone could watch me play this game, and I could explain to them what's required to level each of my 50 characters that I have, and they might say that game looks very grindy. All I've ever seen you do is going through dungeons and beating up enemies and everything like that. And I'm like, to me, it's not grindy because I'm living this power fantasy over and over again where I just get I get to deal with things like ragdoll physics and managing, enemies. And I think for me, part of whether or not something's fun is whether or not the difficulty is in a good spot. And this has fully adjustable difficulty. So if I start getting bored because, dang it, my characters are getting too good and I'm just cream puffing everything to where I don't need to really manage the battles very much anymore, and I'm just going through the motions, well, I can go in there and crank that bad boy up for better rewards. So I would say this game is very replayable, and that's why I've spent hundreds of hours of it. But I think, but your mileage is going to vary. Some people look at this and they go, I do not see how that is fun. So yes. Personally defined fun. Yeah, but I would say that a lot of people found the combat in Final Fantasy to be pretty fun and engaging, and that's why it's just one of the reasons. It isn't just the class system. Final Fantasy V had a great job system. A couple of Final Fantasy games actually had a good Final Fantasy Tactics. I'll give you another example. Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, right on the Game Boy, had a good battle or class system and stuff. But you know what? Combat got kind of boring. So it just didn't feel as fun. Didn't feel as engaging. So I didn't really we're talking like 20 years ago, so unfortunately I can't really get into an exact breakdown of what made it not engaging for me, but it wasn't just me. You can definitely pull up reviews. I think that's the nice thing about written reviews is they're kind of like time capsules. But you can definitely pull those up and see where that takes you. But it was definitely something that was kind of a thing across the board. A lot of 6s and 7s out of 10s. And a big chunk of the reason why was the battle system just felt too easy, too simple, not just not tactical enough, really. You're not looking for chess, but you don't want checkers. Yeah, the more detailed reviews will go into game mechanics and maybe what they did or didn't find as engaging or whatever have you. I can compare Final Fantasy Tactics and Tactics Ogre those are a little bit fresher in my mind. And the scale of the fights, the speed of the animations, now granted I didn't get very far in Tactics Ogre, but from what I played, it didn't engage me as quickly anyways in the early game as Final Fantasy Tactics did. It wasn't clear what the paths of progression were and how those would play out. Mages and everything all feel samey in the early game. Which, I mean, that can be a problem with a lot of games where they're just going to limit casters to like one or two spells. But here it feels particularly bad, in my opinion, Tactics Ogre. Whereas, Final Fantasy Tactics makes it a little bit more clear, what that progression is going to look like. Its fights are faster to get through. They don't feel like as much of a drag. Tactics Ogre also gives a bad first impression because... it's going to start out playing the first two battles for you. Yay. That's what I want. That's what I want in an RPG, is for it to play with itself. It's just not a great first impression. Yeah, it's just not a great first impression. Like, I could go on and on about my differences between the two and why I'm not... I only played Final Fantasy Tactics once, so I'm not like the biggest Tactics fan in the world. But I would go back and play Tactics again, no problem. And these guys keep putting my character to sleep, which is a problem. I'm gonna have to go out and buy some consumable items to deal with that, or I'm just gonna get my butt kicked. But yeah, because otherwise I'm just gonna keep getting put to sleep. This is why you play Sentinel, boys. Sentinels don't get put to sleep. Yeah, Sentinels are really good for staying awake. But first impressions are important. You can't expect everyone to play a game for 35 hours before they get to the good part, right? And so Final Fantasy Tactics just makes a much better first impression. And then once it gets its hooks into you, I think it continues to build on that good impression. Yeah. Means that it's just not it's not a great first impression. Then you go into the next couple of fights and they're kind of, they definitely is a slower system and all this other jazz. I can just, not something I'm like, oh, I'm dying to play some more. This has really got me by the balls. I think that's, I think that's just, maybe it's a Phil thing, but it doesn't immediately grab me. Well, yeah, we definitely live in a day and age where if you're gonna grab someone's attention, it probably should be pretty quick. Sure. Absolutely. But it's not just that. I've got a ton of tactical games. I really, really do, and I like tactical games, but I've just had ones that make me feel more interested right away. Like, one way to get me interested is, and this is, disconnect with some of the JRPG tactical games, but when I play a gold box game, I get to make up my team. So the first thing, you're already getting me interested because I'm making my team from scratch. And I'm getting invested in them before I even get to the battlefield. Instead of, okay, here's a story. Here's these characters. Now we're throwing you the battlefield. Good luck. Now that's a very JRPG, approach, and combined with a slow burn and everything else that they were doing there, it can definitely turn a few people off. But Final Fantasy Tactics isn't too much different in that regard, and probably did a better job of grabbing people. There's different ways to do that, right? There's show and not tell, for example, and stuff like that. And again, some games do that, better than others. I mean, I give Final Fantasy 13 a lot of flack, but it immediately thrusts you into the action. It's a completely new and strange and different world, but it gets you, right in there, gets you playing very quickly. A lot of games do this, where they'll give you that dopamine right at the beginning of like, okay, strange new world, strange things going on. I don't know exactly what's going on. Let's get into the action. And then we take a breather and we explain a couple of things on our way to the next scene of action. Like pacing is important when you're talking about a video game. It's one of the things that differentiates it from other medium. So, can be done better. Can be. But it's an old game. It is what it is. You take it with a grain of salt. I play plenty of old games where the pacing isn't always great. It's definitely one of the criticisms against the Persona games. They take a very long time to get started. And Persona is one of my favorite series in the world. But I acknowledge the fact that the way it winds up the beginnings and gets you into it slowly is definitely something from an older era. And it's a wonder. It's a wonder it's got the followers that it does. But if you play them through them, I think it does a really good job with its storytelling and its presentation, its music. It does pay off. And so there's a lot of peer pressure, like just hang with it because it really does get good later on. Whereas Tactics Ogre, I don't know those people who have stuck with it are coming back and fighting for it. It's like, no, you don't understand. Underneath the surface, get past the first few. It is the most mind-blowing tactical experience or the most twist and turning story you've ever seen or da-da-da-da-da. So... not suddenly turning out some game, but yeah, is it going to be so good that it's if you're gonna demand a toll to cross the bridge, the trip across the bridge better be pretty damn fun. It better take you someplace good, right? You'll pay the toll to cross the bridge. It's going to take you to Yellowstone Park because Yellowstone Park is awesome. So you're telling me that on top of the price tag to buy the game, I'm going to have to invest, X number of hours before the gameplay elements that are really that are the compelling selling point, get going. I'm going to have to go through tutorials. I'm going to have to go through slow world building and all that. Look, I don't give a flying farfignugan about your world building at the end of the day if the gameplay and everything isn't going to be compelling. Now, here's the thing. To me, world building is only worth it if the story is really great. And that's only worth it if the gameplay is really, really good. What you're doing here is you're putting the cart before the horse. If you have really good gameplay and you put it right up in the front, I'm going to be instantly addicted and know whatever comes after it, the story, whatever, it's going to be, I already know what I'm getting for paying this price because I've already seen some of the, the great gameplay to go along with it. And I'm like, shiz, that beginning of that Final Fantasy, that was really exciting. That's what I have to look forward to? Yeah, give me some more story. I'll pay the price. Yeah, here's my money, right? Before you ask my money, you give me a sneak peek. You let me into the theater, let me see some action, you let me see a trailer. Okay, that's cool, that's cool. But if you're going to say, you're just going to say this is the greatest action movie of all time. We're not going to show any action sequence, no previews. And your first 20 minutes, we're going to ask for your money up front. And your first 20, 30 minutes is going to be a lot of world building exposition before the action finally gets going. That's a tougher sell for people to get them to come in and see your movie. Not to say you can't do it, but... Right. Which, again, Persona does that all the time. But the thing is, Persona's so damn good that its reputation precedes it. And so it gets a lot of people. And then they go in and see the reputation is valid. And then they spread it. And it becomes very viral. And that's Final Fantasy Tactics. It is not Ogre Tactics. Ogre Tactics does have its follower, but it doesn't have that... Not necessarily. It's just be that it might... Wow, what was that? Like one mission? 3 merit rewards, 1 mission. Yay. No, I mean, it probably does get deeper and better. In fact, I do believe it does get deeper and more tactical and better as you go along, right? I'm not suggesting that it's just showing you the cards up front, but the cards are not that great. No, it does. It does get better. It just doesn't get to... My impression from reading the reviews and talking with friends and stuff like that is it just doesn't get to the level of engagement, I guess, with the modern audiences, with most people that you would get, that you got with Final Fantasy Tactics. Like at the end of the day, it's a 7 out of 10 game. Just to put it simply, it's a 7 out of 10 game. 7 is a good score. It's not a great score. It's not going to win awards. It's not going to blow your mind, but you're generally going to have a good fun with it, particularly if you're a fan of the genre. Right, that's your 7 out of 10. Where, Tactics was closer to a 9 out of 10. Which is closer to being what you would call a masterpiece. For me, in my world, and my as you know, my review score is easier. Tactics Ogre looks like a game that if I just stick with it, and it would be a good 3 out of 4 game. A game that I played through once, I enjoy it, I had a good time, I don't want to play it again. But, Final Fantasy Tactics, with all of its various... class interactions, replayability, is really high with that one, and the battle system is pretty engaging, and whatever have you. For me personally, I, even decades later, I'm like, you know what? I really wouldn't mind playing that again. Now, granted, I haven't. Other things are on the backlog, but I absolutely was like, yeah, wouldn't mind giving that another run. So, but each their own. You definitely are going to have people who are like, yeah, I didn't like Final Fantasy Tactics for X, Y, Z and reason. But if you're looking at the masses in the whole, the review scores and the feedback and the communities are very different between those two. The passion, is very different. And indicating, I think, overall Final Fantasy Tactics did a much better job of engaging people, making them want to do multiple replays, making them want for sequels and remasters and things like that. You didn't see big petitions for Final Fantasy Tactics, Ogre Tactics 2 and 3 and everything. You didn't see that kind of movement that you saw for Final Fantasy Tactics. And they're both similar area games. Hey, Smokey, how you doing? So yeah. But you may love it. Nothing wrong with that. I love City of Heroes, and all of 2,000 people play that compared to the 100 million on World of Warcraft, so go figure.
It's probably most of my focus is interrogating that where my feelings are sitting.
Well, 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, we can have a talk about the communities and how well they accepted both and all that other jazz. But personally, right there, that's a whole different story, right? Like for me, Final Fantasy Tactics wasn't so good for me that it was like, oh, bruh, I gotta play through my instant replay right now. I just can't stop playing. I gotta try these things right now. Oh, remaster's out. I'm paying full price. Let's go. You didn't see me do any of that, right? Like to me, it wasn't. But for some of my friends, it absolutely was. All they were talking about was like the remaster. Nothing wrong with that. Everyone's got their own take.
Yeah. Hey.
Morning, Case.
It would help if I had the volume coming through on YouTube so people would think that I'm actually talking to somebody, not just talking to myself.
Oh, it's a mystery.
It's a mystery. Everyone in the chat on YouTube is like, oh, he's talking to himself, I guess? I don't know.
He's losing his mind.
I always feel like I'm talking to myself. Dugout.
Hey, Phil, how's it going?
Another fun day in Dugout Dice. I did start off by putting together a quick little super group if for some odd reason people want to do that, but that is there. Said, you know, I did say I was going to do it, so let me just do something so I can say, you know what? Phil keeps his word. But like I said, I'm not too bothered about it either way. It's a different day and age, and it's a different hero with Chrono Crossfire. Speaking of old games,
Chrono Cross, huh?
Chrono Crossfire is definitely a reference.
I haven't played Chrono Cross yet. I played Chrono Trigger, and I enjoyed it pretty well. Especially the music in that game, amazing. I really like it.
Let's see here. Smokey says, I tried WoW during one of those free weeks. As soon as I logged in for the first time, I had some brat following me around, constantly challenging me to a duel. And I'm just trying to learn the controls. You know what's really funny here?
Sounds like WoW.
Yeah, you know what's really funny here? Yesterday, I had loaded up that mastermind, the nature mastermind, and I just went to Atlas Park just to beat up on some level 1 thugs while I got used to the controls, you know, on it and whatever. And somebody was following around me. And, so I started chatting with him, and he's like, I just returned to the game. And I'm like, well, I'm Phil, and I'm actually, preparing this character to do a YouTube video on. And, and he's like, oh, I've seen you before. So it kind of became a really interesting, conversation. So that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
But you never know if someone...
Do you over and over?
Yeah, you never know if someone following you is a kid or not. You don't know, anything about that person. So you have to be a little on guard.
Oh, yeah.
Don't be that guy.
Okay, why are these pillars not letting me take quests? Everything's dark. Am I not? Oh, I'm only 14. That's why I got a little more. All right. Ouroboros are level 15 and higher, correct?
To initiate one, you can
Yes,
join
14,
one.
that's why.
Yeah, you can join one at a somewhat lower level, but to
I came up
initiate,
too early.
you got to be 15. So I usually do. Well, I usually do farms, but aside from farms, or sometimes my farms come up a little bit short, then I'll go and just knock out maybe a story arc from a contact or something, or heaven forbid, I do a couple of newspapers to get by.
What are the newspapers? Is that the radio?
Yeah, the radio. Newspaper is the villain version, since I play mostly villains, so I tend to default to that language.
Oh, okay. I gotta still learn it. Gotta go to the tutorial book on Index and learn all the acronyms and shortcuts.
That poor desiccated husk. Tough
Dude,
life.
Phil, I'm really liking this Beast Mastery water spec. It plays right into the way I like to play. because I should say it suits me pretty well.
I don't know what it is about the difficulty in this fucking game. Why do they feel the need to throw you in against yellows and oranges at the very beginning of a motherfucking dungeon?
You need a hand?
No, I'm trying to just get used to the character and solo her a bit. I played her in tons of groups, and supposedly is solo viable, so I'm trying to... And the first dungeon I go into, yellows and oranges all over the place, and immediately hold me, and it's just aggravating. I'm always like, it's one of my pet peeves. It's like, if I do a dungeon or anything like that, the beginning, there should be a difficulty curve, right? That ramps up as you go through the dungeon. But always let the guys have some easy wins at the beginning. And for whatever reason, I feel that they bonked the difficulty in City Heroes with this last patch. We were talking about that a lot yesterday. Heaven help you if you put it -1, because it actually sets it to +1. And we know this, apparently it's a known bug that's been in there for about a month since the patch. So...
Are the names yellow and orange, is it like relative level, like in some RPGs where it's just a
pretty much
that they're plus this many?
Yeah, I mean, so I could get into the details, but suffice to say, it just means they're better than you, right? They're the higher difficulty, sure. There's usually in most MMOs you've got like a scale of blue to green to white to yellow to orange to blue, or I'm sorry, purple, whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, sure. This guy's an orange, and he's like one of the first things I fight, and it's just like, oh, come on. Can I just have some white? And he's a lieutenant, no less, so he's a chunky orange. There's like, can I just have just for kicks and giggles? Can I please have some whites to practice on at the beginning of would that be asking so much? And of course, I think one thing's, we were talking about this yesterday. I feel some of us feel like they're doing their special powers a lot more. Like the Carnies were doing some really weird shit that normally they wouldn't do. Like they decided that the game wasn't tough enough. So they're doing their special attacks a lot more, making your life miserable. So I almost bit the bucket again right there against the one orange because he's really tough. It's just like, can I just let me fight some whites? Let me warm up and figure out this character without fighting what is the game's equivalent of a big boss.
It's interesting.
No, it's not interesting. It's frustrating. It just is what it is.
Saying it. Okay. Yeah, I was.
Yeah, it's something that they
thought process.
It's I don't know. It's randomization. There's a lot of randomization in the game too, so it's really kind of hard to see if it's just a randomization issue or what the hell it is lately. But we think the running theory is it's not just me. There's a lot of people noticing that the difficulty isn't where it used to be at ever since this last patch, and that they bonked a few things. Or there's a purposeful move to make the game more difficult. And
yeah, I wonder anything with these like group encounters. From my impression from other MMO stuff I've played is that crowd control is super duper useful if you can lock down, whether it's a polymorph or a sleep or whatever. Knocking out one enemy lets you turn it into a one-on-one. That's nice. But
yeah, it depends on the class you're playing in this game. There's dominators and controllers that can absolutely lock down a lot of enemies, unless of course they're super high level and they've got a lot of resistances. Then good luck with that. And like I said, I could probably handle this once I get used to the character. It's just, in beginning of a dungeon, I think good dungeon design is you start off somewhat easy and you ramp it up, and then the final encounters are a test of your skills.
Yeah. Standard stuff. What if this is the easy part and then it just gets harder from here? Oh no.
Industrial Avenue.
Yeah, so have fun, Smokey Piper. Sally never played WoW. WoW is fun. WoW does a lot of really good things, but it also, like most of these games, has its shortcomings. Most of these MMOs. It has strengths and weaknesses. It really does.
Jamaican trolls was a weakness.
I like trolls.
No, the Jamaican ones.
I like trolls. Yeah, no, I like them. I ain't got a problem with them. There's a thing in RPGs in a lot of RPGs where dwarves have Scottish accents and now trolls have Jamaican accents, whatever. I don't really worry too much about the voice acting in these things. If you want to give them accents, I suppose. So you're using world accents because you can't come up with a good, thorough accent, whatever you want to call it, like dialect or something for your fake race, right? So you're coming up with, you're just going to use, it's easier just to use British and Asian or whatever accent you want to use. Now I know, some people are like, well, that's appropriation, whatever. I don't know. My wife's from a different country. She's never had a problem with it. My family is from another country. We've never had a problem with it, but other people do. I don't really get too far into that debate. I let people debate that somewhere else. But as far as like, does it bother me or anything? I just shrug my shoulders. It's like, it's okay. I'm much more interested when it comes to different races. And this is one of my big problems with Shadowrun, is whether or not your races actually feel like they have a different culture, right? Is that culture reflected in their interactions and how they treat you and how they treat each other? Do they truly feel like a different culture? Or do they just feel like humans with a different dialect, and a different color skin? I think the trolls in WoW, from what I played, do that to some extent, not as much as I would like. Better than Shadowrun, though. These are a lot of oranges I'm being asked to fight at once. Why, City of Heroes? Why?
You're close to beating them, though. You can do it.
Yeah, I got through them. Get more used to the character. It's kind of an interesting class with the Corruptor. So you've got the Sentinel and the Tanker and stuff. They have their primary power is doing damage, and their secondary power is defense, or it's vice versa. But they basically have defenses. They have powers. Then you have like the squishy classes, like Blaster. Blaster kicks out a crap ton of damage. Their secondary is usually some extra melee damage and or some control in case they get into a tight spot. Throw down a slick of ice so enemies start, tripping up and you fall back type of thing so you can kite them better. Put up a smoke screen so they hit less often, things like that. Corruptor is like support powers for the most part. Like, so you can be a really good damage dealer and support a team, but the primary is doing damage. So they're almost as good at dealing damage as a blaster in some respects, depending on how they're built. Right. But their secondary is more of a support. But the question is, can you solo well with it? And it turns out, like you would think, well, secondary being support probably doesn't work really good for soloing. But there's quite a few of the secondary powers that actually do work pretty decently in solo as well. So I'm trying this one with time manipulation, but the storm one I have, the secondary being storm summoning, basically slows down enemies, trips them up, blows them back, keeps them off of your people. Really great in team play, but actually does a really good job of being good in single play as well, because it just keeps all the enemies away from you while you do your excellent, damage to them. So this one's time manipulation, which has some healing, it has some buffing. Some of that buffing only works on allies, so it doesn't work really good again in a solo setting. But, because allies doesn't mean yourself. You're not your own ally, sadly. But so far the debuffs, like slowing them down, slowing down time around them, things like that have been actually working pretty decently so far. I'm holding my own against these pretty tough guys.
I'm curious too. Those inspirations, they have different effects. That seems like, since every character has access to those as a consumable effect, are those the kind of thing that can shore up your character class's weaknesses or
Yeah, and tougher
challenges?
in tougher fights, you'll use if you're a squishy class, you might use the purples because those will shore up your resistances or your defenses. Whereas, if you're already a tank class, against a boss, you're probably not terribly worried about your defenses, but you'll use the red items to increase your offense. So yeah, you can definitely take that approach. But they're not so plentiful that you're just using them for every single fight. But they also have a cap on how many you can carry, so you'll eventually probably want to use them.
Yeah.
I gotta change the color of the bird.
Wow, this guy does not want to go down. And he keeps coming at me with that stupid hurricane he has around him. And that's a power you can take as a player, where you have a hurricane around you that pushes people away. What's really funny, and we have this in Dungeons & Dragons, and where you have this power that's meant to keep people away. You're playing a squishy class. And if they come close to you, you'll do damage. In this case, it'll push you away as well as do a little bit of damage, I'm sure. And... But what happens in both this game and in D&D is some people use it offensively. They run after you while it's turned on its center on you. So they use it like a battering ram. And in D&D, I nerfed that. As a DM, I can do that. And I said you can no longer use it as a way to punish enemies by hunting them down in corners and then beating them up with your shields over and over again. Once you place the spell down, it doesn't move. So it's a dome of protection. Yeah, you buy more and put them in the mail, Rob. I find like for the resurrection ones, I usually keep those in the mail, but I don't put a bunch of yellows and reds and stuff because it would just take a long time and it would really clutter up my mailbox. But that's just me. But you just reminded me to stick this resurrection in there. So I do mail the resurrections to myself. It keeps that space free, my inspirations for powers that I use more often than res. Hey Axel, how are you doing today? Oh goodness gracious. How am I doing today? We're going to find out after this fight. Because we're going to go big.
Positive, Phil.
We're going to go big or go home. Well, on the bright side, they're all whites. So... Isn't it really funny? This appears to be the end of the dungeon, and now everything's all white. It's really, really weird. And this is not the first time I've seen this happen. It's reversed, and the dungeon's getting easier as I go further into it. It's really, really weird. Now, to be fair, like City of Heroes dungeons aren't generally designed where a difficulty slowly ramps up or ramps down. Usually it's not unusual if you're doing a story arc to fight some bosses at the end of an entire story arc, which is a series of short dungeons in a row, and at the end you'll have a tough encounter at the end. So that's not unusual. But you don't usually have that gradual ramping up. But what I've seen more and more is, like, I'll get far into a dungeon and now everything's white. Oh, did I level... Wait, have I leveled up on this stream? I mean, if you level up, that makes sense because everything will instantly be one level lower. But I don't think I've leveled up recently. No.
You've been 28 on this.
No, I've been 28.
Start.
Right. So, yeah. So it isn't that I leveled up. Yeah, I've had that happen before. Where you level up in the middle of a dungeon, now everything's a color better.
It almost looks like probably isn't the case, but if there's supposed to be some sort of climactic encounter, you'd have one big tough enemy show up, and then all these little packs of white enemies would be the mooks, the minions that surround them. But it's weird. I agree. It doesn't. You said there's a lot of randomization in these going on. Just the kind of thing where something about the way that this mission rolled or missions tend to roll is a little wonky.
You can't. So the way it will tend to work in solo is on default settings, which I usually run on my leveling characters. Anyways, I'll bump it up once I get them to high level. But at regular, you'll see clumps of 3 whites like this. Now, occasionally you'll find 2 yellows instead, but they'll be like minions, so they're still kind of easy to defeat. You might see an orange with a white, but what I was seeing before was a bit above the curve, and so with where they're lieutenants and stuff like that, because there is a difference between like a yellow minion and a yellow lieutenant. The lieutenant's going to be a lot more beefy. But yeah, it is weird. It's not the end of the world. It's just weird. Ally, heal over time, temporal mending, temporal junction, PBOE full foe. I'm trying to say one of these I think is a field on myself. Can I do this on myself? See, this one I cannot do on myself. That's an ally only. That's a PBOE team big buff. I thought one of these PBOE foe.
I'm hearing a bell. Where are you?
Oh well, we'll just go in here and Leroy Jenkins this.
Leroy!
Jenkins!
Alright, where's the chime that I'm hearing? Go get them wolves.
Oh yeah, if you could switch out your characters, Rob, that would be a big deal. Speaking of World of Warcraft, I think I think that World of Warcraft is going to down the road here shortly, maybe in the next expansion. Not the one coming up, but the one after. I think they're going to make it to where you can take your own alts into the dungeon with you. Where you're going to be able to, like, you have all your different alts. You take them as companions in the dungeon. They've already got dungeons now where you take AI companions. See, now I'm not getting any oranges at all. Just yellows and whites.
Heroes like in Guild Wars 1?
Yeah, very much like Heroes in Guild Wars. Now, Guild Wars 1, I got videos I'm working on. One is City of Heroes was ahead of its time, and Guild Wars 1 was ahead of its time. Because, yes, Guild Wars 1 did it a long time ago. But no one's done it since. It's kind of like the Holy Grail. So many players are altaholics. WoW has recognized this and has done more and more for altaholics and made the game easier to alt than it has ever been in the past. And now... Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just talking to myself.
And now you kind of see they're doing more with these things called war bands. When you log in, you see all of your characters on the login screen. They're all sitting around a campfire. Guild Wars 2 has it to where your alts will come and visit you in your house, from what I understand, when you have your house going on. There's a drive for this kind of content. The idea that you can have your alts go through the dungeon with you, I think is the pinnacle idea there.
But what if my alts hate each other, Phil?
I know, right? They don't want to hang out,
along.
and they don't get along. They're all passive-aggressive to each other.
Yeah, it's really toxic dynamic.
That's
I have
fair.
a friend that plays Guild Wars 2 religiously, so I can ask him about that, what the housing distance is, and people come in there. Because I know they put NPCs in your houses now, but I didn't think it was your alts. I thought it was the heroes that you saw that during the game and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought it was them.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I haven't seen it myself. We just started Guild Wars 2 a month ago. We're not that far in. Don't masterminds take AI into missions? Yeah, with masterminds, you absolutely have your little wolves and stuff. I love my masterminds, but yes, yeah, you do kind of. It would kind of be funny if you could take your own City of Heroes alts in there with you. You don't think there's a better character creator than City of Heroes? Well, I hate to tell you this, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, no, it's great. I could spend hours making characters in here. If you see some of my characters and they don't look really pretty yet, it's because, honestly, because it takes me so long to make a good-looking character, my new rule of thumb is the characters don't get a really good outfit till they hit 50. Are they fun enough for me to play that long? I'm not going to spend 3 hours, 4 hours in a character creator. if the character then just to find out, like, after playing it for 20 levels, the power sets don't min well together.
That's good. That's very good to do that like that. That's a good idea.
Yeah. So that pirate guy you saw earlier today, he's okay looking enough. He's not going to win any costume awards, right? He's an ice pirate named Yorin Icehole. But you know, if he makes it to the 50, we'll doctor him up if it's a really fun class. Chrono Crossfire, I think she's been fun enough. She got a cool. We gave her kind of a cool Victorian outfit, so she's happy. Haven't got her up to 50 yet, but I think I shouldn't say 50. I think, like, generally speaking, by the time I'm 30, I know if I'm having fun with the character already. I just tend to do a lot of things at 50. Duplicate the hero mastermind would be nice, right? Or what about the controller illusionist with all the illusions? Instead of just having the boring old... Imagine if you could actually doctor those illusions up to look however you want. Wouldn't that be cool?
I'd pick my minions.
Wouldn't it be cool to pick your minions? Yeah, and
like turn the wolves into like I don't know, maybe other cats as well or something like that, you know, or different types of wolves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or like bear, or hell, even marine life would be cool. Throw sharks at people. That'd be fun.
Right. Yeah, Jay Myers, I'm glad you like that tip. So that it kind of follows, and this is the way I just play. Everyone can play differently. It's just the way, you know, I play it. It's a game that's very altaholic friendly, right? Some people like me have a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen alts or more.
Why
and
1,000?
Yeah, 1,000. You know, you might have 1,000.
That's why there's 1,000 on the character creation. So 0 of 1,000.
There's
first one.
Yeah, and that's on one server, right? You got 5,000. I think there's 5 servers, maybe 6.
Oh my god! You can
Yeah.
have me power. That's amazing.
Now,
That's a skill.
right? So yeah, I go through a lot of characters, and not all of them make the cut. So they don't get set enhancements, which are expensive. They don't get set enhancements. They don't get the team teleporter, which is expensive. The $10 million influence things they don't get. None of that. They have to earn it. They have to earn a good outfit. They have to earn... And also their costume change animation, which... Sneak peek for you guys watching the stream today, my Christmas present to the community will be a video on how to do your own macros for changing your character into their super outfit and back again.
I definitely need to see that.
I'll show you guys a quick sneak peek here of what that looks like in case you don't have a point of reference. Do you still do the costume unlock and Cape Aura missions? I personally haven't, because I have enough costume slots on each character by the time I'm 50 that I never run out. I do know that those missions are out there if I ever want them. How many power combos can you make? 5,000 or more? I don't know what the total number of permutations between the power sets are. There's quite a few, and whatnot. So
there's 5 classes, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Each one with dozens of power sets, and then how many ways? Like if you just took a look at the Sentinel alone, you've got, let's just say for sake of argument, a dozen primary power sets and a dozen secondary power sets. So how many permutations would there be? I feel like this is a Dr. Zeus question. I feel like
12 times 12.
It's not 12 times 12.
I missed it. What was the?
If you have 12 primary power sets to choose from on character creation and 12 secondary power sets, how many different combination or permutations of Sentinel could I make in the game?
It's not 144.
It's not 144.
I think. Well, so if you have 12 primary, so you pick one primary power and then you pick a secondary power.
Right. We want to know how much variation, how many permutations. Right. And they give you.
It'd be just 144.
No, because
each one would be multiplied by the 12. Right?
So you said there's 12 primaries, so the first primary could have 12 different secondaries, right?
Not archetypes.
If I'm understanding what you're saying, is it 1 secondary or 2?
Oh, there are additional secondaries, Phil. He's right. The flying and stuff and speed running. And
well,
all
no, that's that. We're just looking.
Too.
Yeah, we have to, for the moment, focus on the. Yeah, because otherwise we'll be here all day, right? So you have 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I guess because they're not I guess it might be 144 because you can't reverse them to get the same thing. You can't.
Yeah.
Not on the Sentinel,
Yeah.
right? You couldn't take the primary first and then do the secondary and get the same thing and call that a. So yeah, so it might be 144 in that one class.
Yeah, if like you're talking permutations where order matters, it would be different, but I don't think that is the, because you can't like pick multiple primaries either. It should be nice and simple. But even so, 144 is a very large number.
Yeah, so
But you can also play them differently too. Like you can play the pet class as a pet class, or pet class as support class too, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have that little tweak in there as well.
yeah, so you can.
Night,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say last night I got to play with Squirrel and Liquid, and Squirrel brought his Dominator out. I'm like, oh my god, it was so much easier. Everything was just frozen in place for us. They're sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was such a strong power set for a group build. That commercial from when we were younger, never leave home without it, you know? Dominator or controller. Ah, crap, bad guy did not got spawned.
So this little costume change you just saw me do, I'll do another one again. Don't worry, you haven't missed anything. But if you're watching the stream...
Hold on. Let me bring up the stream.
I know Dr. Zeus is rushing to log in right now. This is
I've got the stream up. There's just that delay. I'm waiting with bated breath.
Oh, that's true. There is a delay between the two things here. So you guys are going to see here when I hit this macro button. This is what I'm going to teach you. This is my Christmas present to you guys. I'll show you how to do this. Well, you guys will see it like 20 seconds from now.
Yes.
There you are. Get your live stream right there.
All right, everyone's watching, right? Everyone's watching.
Let me know if you get a loop or not. Oh, that's gonna be too loud.
Oh yeah, make sure you turn the YouTube video on mute if you're listening to Discord. I'm gonna keep talking and driving them crazy.
Where's the mute? Mute. Do mute.
It's the lower left corner of the video.
I'll just turn the volume down. There you go. No volume.
Okay. All right.
So I'm watching the stream. I see you standing with your arms folded.
Standing there, right? And then we hit the button, and you'll see this 20 seconds later from now. Boom.
Yes, in 20 seconds we'll
in
see
20
a magical
seconds
transformation sequence.
Oh, she's doing Firestarter. She's doing Firestar from Spider-Man.
Yeah, and I've got Iceman on Freezer Burn.
So how do you make their hands, their body gesture by doing something, or?
This is a macro that lets you change from one outfit to the other with the special effects. I'm going to show the big secrets out of the bag on Christmas.
Wonder Woman.
On Christmas, and I'll show you Freezer Burn, which is the opposite because he's ice. He's a good-looking gentleman.
I died watching the stream.
All right. Well, you don't want to miss this next one because I think the ice animation's really cool. Here we go. You saw Firestar, then there's Iceman from that same cartoon.
Yep, cartoon. Yep.
Yeah.
You really want to wow people? Have your character walk into a phone booth and walk out and fly away.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool.
Yeah. So we got some more. I will also reveal a totally not illegal outfit in that video. That's totally not going to get me into trouble. Maybe I shouldn't do that. I might get into trouble. I might just save it for the private streams.
Well, if it's in the character creation and the ability to put the costume on, you're not going to get in trouble for it.
All right. I swear, like, if you look at his neck, his costume, if you look at his neck, the costume is underneath his dress shirt. Right? You can practically see a little bit.
Yeah.
You can see a little bit. I'm going to zoom in there. You're going to see a little bit underneath there. Right? Wait a minute. Clark Kent, you are Superman. Right?
To the Iron Man nano tap.
Right. That's pretty funny, but that does work.
Yeah.
Yeah, now Chrono Crossfire is fun, but she hasn't made it to the big leagues where I make her an animation yet. But she, this first solo dungeon was pretty good. It's been pretty good. I'm getting a little more used to her. This could be a fun character to solo. It definitely worked really well in a team with a scrapper. Chrono Crossfire is basically a fire time corruptor, and the scrapper I was with, he was just having a blast. He'd rather be playing alongside this corruptor than my dominator that I was running with him. The assault control, whatever it's called, arsenal control dominator. Clark, why are you wearing Superman pajamas? Right? Exactly. Absolutely. All right, you guys are going to hear my voice. I'm going to walk away. I think you're going to still hear my voice because I'm going to use my Bluetooth mic. I'll sound a little different here, but I'm gonna go and feed the cat. So you'll hear me, but you won't see me. But I'll be yeah. So we'll be back in just physically back to play more game in just a minute here. Let me put on the. Let me put on. I'm right back. Really, I am, guys. Really. I apologize for any background sounds from that you hear from feeding the cat because the cat must be fed. Drinky, foodie, snackies. Okay. But I do look forward to the full Dr. Zeus review of Tactics Ogre.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely in that experimenting stage right now as far as gameplay goes. I do have the sense that some character classes seem much stronger than others, but I'm not sure. I am gonna experiment more to work some stuff out, but I think it will get there. We'll just take a little time.
And did you play more of that? What was it? The Last Remnant.
So I haven't. I'm trying to play chunks in order, so that'll be on the docket eventually. But I think Tactics Ogre will be there for a while. I've played the Last Remnant to through a chunk of the story just on my own prior, but I have not completed it or gotten too deep.
Yeah, that was another one that is very interesting. I think like one thing that some of these games really do is they try to do different things, which can be very interesting. And the Last Remnant is definitely a poster child for, well, we tried something different.
Yeah, my impression of it is that we talked before about the like whether you enjoy trying to work out a system as a puzzle or something like that. I think that if you enjoy that type of play, there's probably plenty to sink your teeth into. But if I think the fact that it doesn't really make its system or incentives too clear means that its appeal is going to be hard to get into if it's even there. if you're not all about that. So definitely a weird one. But the writing and voice acting for the main character is so strange. That's like a great reason for me to stick with it. On top of the fact that I like trying to unwrap these weird mechanisms of play. But it just makes me laugh. What a strange choice.
Resonance of Fate. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, that's the one with gun customization, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my friend had played it and was showing it to me about how you can have a gun with like a scope that has a top attachment that you could put another scope on top and build like a gun with 15 scopes on it to make it really accurate. That's amazing.
Oh, that one has, from what I understand, that one has a really complicated battle system.
Hmm.
That'll test the Zeus Meister.
Yeah, I that's on my list of ones to play eventually. There's a
Xenoblade.
line that.
Yeah,
Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
Go
No,
ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Okay, there's a line that a bad guy says in that game whenever they're fighting one of the general enemies that shows up a bunch in the early game, where he says, You'll have more holes than a beehive."
Oh, jeez.
And they're talking about, I guess, the
Hashtag dad
honeycomb or
jokes.
whatever, right? But
Hmm.
I think of like a beehive, like a classic cartoonish, the round thing with the one hole on it.
Right.
Only one hole, huh? Not so
Hmm.
impressive, bad guy. Makes
Hmm.
me laugh. It's so strange.
It sounds like a bad dad joke.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. We're back. Like a heart attack. Um, did you play Xenoblade Chronicles?
Yeah. I finished the first game. What I played a number of. I played 1 and 2, and some of X, and I played a little of 3. Watched a friend play a lot of 3. Get through it. They're all quite different though, gameplay wise. So, and even story wise, there's some connecting threads, but kind of an odd series.
Hmm.
But Xenoblade Chronicles 1 I enjoyed. I think the most out of them. It was very very fun for me. I'm gonna have to step away for a little bit though, so I'll be right back.
Let's see here. Yeah, cat love is very necessary. I had to feed the cat. Do you know which hero tip missions give you Maelstrom? I don't even know what a Maelstrom is. Dugout, have you heard of Maelstrom before?
Maelstrom
Yeah,
as a power.
I guess. He says, do you know which hero tip missions gives you Maelstrom?
Powers. Maelstrom. Is that one of the Super Four? The Elite Four at the end, like with
Oh,
Leviathan
wow.
and stuff.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Or is it a bad guy power?
Oh, is it one of those epic power pool dealies, maybe?
That's
Yeah,
what I
one
was
of the
just asking you.
villain. Oh, well, if it is that what is that what you're asking about, Axel? One of the villain epic power pools?
I'm checking right now on the wiki. Power sets, he says. Oh, males. Where's power sets at? It's gonna be in the P's. Where P's at? Power.
He is the A Praetorian villain that appears in the campaign Incarnate Trial.
Oh, that's what's a person.
I guess that's what it says. He's in a Praetorian villain that appears in the campus Incarnate Trial. Yeah, it's a
Oh,
good question.
Praetorian village. A Praetorian person. Okay.
I guess. Yeah, I have no idea, Axel. I honestly don't keep very up with the individual villains and where you find them and stuff. If I just find one, I kill them. If I'm on the hero side. I'm sorry, I arrest him. But yeah. If you want to know how to get the villain epic power pools, that's easy because I do that quite often. In fact, I should do a video on that. Chrono Crossfire's not doing too shabby here on solo. I'm still a little confused exactly how her powers kind of debuff the enemy, but they are undoubtedly debuffing them.
Yo yo.
Oh, what up?
Oh, you know, the ceiling. Oh, ho, ho.
Oh, another dad joke. No, stop it. No more dad jokes.
No escaping it.
No. Oh, the friend of Twin Shot, a contact in Atlas. I like the Twin Shot story arc. Sadly, I don't think you can do it through Ouroboros. That one story that's like I think it's a two-parter or something like that. But I remember doing it on a hero a year and a half or two ago. I want to make my next hero. I want to take them through that story arc again because I thought it was a fun way to get through your early levels. And I'm sure you get merits for it, which is, the true purpose in life, right? So speaking of figuring things out, Zeus and stuff, something about this game is that eventually you're going to want money for buying gear and stuff, like with most MMOs. The thing is that the bad guys drop what's called influence, which is the form of money, or infamy if you're on the villain side. The thing is, it's not very much. It's not very much at all. On top of that, back in the day, you could, I think, pay money to basically double experience, but then the trade-off was you would not get any influence drop from enemies. Nowadays, they offer that in the game for free. You just talk to this one vendor, and she gives you this double XP, which apparently I don't have it turned on this character. Ooh. So I should be getting infamy drops. Let's take a look here. Yeah, look. So here's the infamy I'm getting, guys. By the way, this is an excellent opportunity to go over why Phil tells you to get double XP. So we're going to see as I beat enemies. I'll keep the log up here in the upper left corner. You're going to see me get 500, 2,000, stuff like that. Okay, so keep those numbers in mind, 500 to 2,000, right, depending if it's a lieutenant or not. Now, as you go through these, what they call story arcs in the game and some various other activities, you will get what's called merit rewards. Merit rewards are kind of, can be used to buy what we call salvage and stuff, used to craft different enhancements. So basically crafting materials is what they can get you, among other things. So it is, these reward merits are worth roughly 150 influence on the auction house. By the time you convert them to salvage and you put it up on the auction house, their value is 150,000 each, right? So as I'm destroying these guys here, you'll notice that we'll get some money here eventually after I beat one of these guys up and damage stops flying on the screen. I think I can just look right here. There we go. We'll keep it on that screen right there. It's easier to keep track of the influence, the infamy there. You'll see I just killed that guy there and I got 102 infamy. Woohoo! If I beat up 100 guys like him, I will have 10,000 infamy by the end of this, right? But if you do a lot of these story arcs and stuff, you will find out that on the average, they give you about 3 merit rewards per, what we call per door, per mission, right? So that's around 450,000 influence worth. So when I tell you guys to turn on double XP, it's because even if I beat 100 guys in this dungeon, which I will not on solo, I would only get 10,000 influence or infamy. But the merit rewards are worth 450,000 for this mission, right? And so you're talking chump change for double XP.
Yeah,
chump change for double
interesting
XP.
Question. The 450,000 payout is from the player-driven auction house, right?
Right. So you can kind of think of merit rewards as basically the game is dropping salvage, not direct currency. And this can be an anti-inflation device. Rather than dropping a bunch of money to players and missions that now we're flooding the market with gold, we're basically dropping the salvage that can be put on the auction house that other people want, and that will cause a gold exchange in the system. And since every transaction has a fee attached to it, it provides
fee.
Yeah. So it's kind of an interesting thing, but this is a big reason why I tell people. I've had people argue with me about my YouTube videos and some of the things that I'm directing people to do, and it's just like there's a method to my madness here.
Mm-hmm.
So, but speaking of figuring the puzzle out, this is not made very clear to players. You have to put these different pieces together, or watch Phil's YouTube video found at youtube.com/. I'm just kidding. To figure out how to do. Oh, we've got yellows and oranges again. To figure out how to do this. So
yeah, it kind of makes me wonder too. So the fact that they're valued highly makes sense to me, and that's the exchange rate on the auction house. But where is money actually entering the system? Is it purely through these chump change sort of drops, or are there like raids or quests that give very large influence rewards?
no, they definitely all. So with the request rewards, they always use these merit rewards. But with monster drops, they always do use that. On the other hand, that can drop us salvage or different items. But for the most part, we are getting a lot. That's little stream of money. No, what happens is as you go up in levels, that experience, that infamy per drop goes up and up and up. When you hit 50, it jumps way up. And so it becomes more substantial at 50. Plus, at 50, what it is, you're much more powerful as you get set bonuses and stuff. At 50, you really break a barrier. So most characters are able to take on more people at once. So they're also just doing more. They're just killing more at a time, so they got more of that trickle coming in. That trickle starts to pour into a stream. Now, what people do, and you're going to like this, Zeus, there's these things called farms, okay? And in this game, I mean, there's farms in every game, but in this game, the way farms look, you don't go and find farms and run them with your friends. You create them. So there's actually a mission editor in this game that lets you make your own missions. Right? Do you see where this is going, right?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right? Oh, wait, my other half watches all your videos, and I've seen him in-game loving some of those changes. Oh, thank you, Jay. I appreciate that. So, so people make these missions. For example, they'll make what's called a fire farm, and I can show you guys a fire. We can run a fire farm today if you guys want. In a fire farm, you make your character specifically strong against fire damage. This game is very elementally focused, right? Make a guy who's very strong against fire damage and smashing and lethal, which are the common physical damage types. And then you go into this place where they did the highest level fire enemies they could find in the game and just pack them into these tight little packs that are close together, so you can go one from the other, and you just mow them down. And it can get you a pretty good stream of income, like millions per hour, maybe 3, 5, 10 million, whatever that number is. But then, wait, there's more. Because what you'll do is you'll log into 2 other accounts at the same time, and you'll put those characters into the farm with you. What the game does is when there's multiple people in a fight, it doesn't just split the money evenly. It actually adds more to the pot before splitting it up. You can call it a grouping bonus. So by having multiple people that you own all of the people on, you can absolutely make more gold overall, or influence, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that's interesting. It does sound like golden, or not gold, but money inflation seems like it would go out of control if this is efficient enough. The only real limiting factor is how many people are willing to put real life time into it, right?
Right. And I think the devs have some really strong auction house manipulation that they do. For example, when it comes to the common salvage and crafting pieces, they literally have like this infinity, like 182 million in there, and that's the devs putting their finger on the scale and going, this will never get overinflated due to scarcity, right? That price won't,
Yeah.
So there's some socialism, communism going on there.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. You basically just you turn them into vendored items, but players can also participate in the economy if they want to create it at a lower value.
Right, 100%. Did this guy just heal himself? Son of a bitch. What does it take to... Oh, I think this is one of those guys you have to kill the pot. As long as that pot's existent, he's going to stay alive. This cauldron over here. And this is going to be really hard for my character because This is going to force me to be a lot more offensive than I'm used to being,
Hmm.
which is something probably Zeus loves.
It's called gameplay. That's
It's called
gameplay.
gameplay. It's called getting out of my comfort zone. He just wants to see me use the consumable Tic Tacs.
You gotta use them. They're burning a hole in. They're burning a hole in my pocket, and I don't even have any.
I I'm not sure I really need to use them because I didn't realize that once I took the pot down, I think everything around it died. So that there might be a
Oh,
mechanic there, but I've eaten up all those Tic Tacs and I don't think I really needed them all. But I need help. I
I
need.
think.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say. I think that just your area of effect attack does a bunch of damage over time too. You really obliterated that group. That was strong.
Yeah, it's a very interesting. I think she might be a very good solo character. You've got the AOE of fire plus AOE's secondary effect is DOT. That's why
Yeah.
fire is considered one of the, as it is in most games, one of the highest damage specs. Most other power sets will have other secondary effects such as knocking people over, slowing them down, whatever. But fire is just all about doing this damage, but it doesn't do it all at
Damage. Yeah.
once because that would be a little broken. So it's in the form of DOT. And then what you have is the secondary on this character is time, and time slowing them down, slowing down the enemies for the most part. So it slows them down, giving the DOTs time to work. And then you combine that with what the Corruptor Scourge. So for those of you who don't know, Corruptors have a special ability. All classes have a special ability. That's a little perk. Corruptor's special perk is that when an enemy is lower on health, they will get like an extra 50% damage or something like that. And you'll see the word scourge, 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 scourge appear all over that enemy whenever you hit them with the power when they're low on health. That's kicking in extra damage. So the thing is, when you talk about that kind of ability, so you're saying if I get you below 30% health, you're going to take this extra damage. There's a lot of ways that can become wasted, right? If I get you down to 31% and my next attack kills you, it never came into play, right?
Hmm.
If I get you down to 25% before the Scourge kicks in, and then the next shot is going to be a Scourge, but it would have killed you anyways, then it doesn't come into play. Fire, and so it doesn't increase that character's DPS with some of the power sets that tend to have this big chunky damage. But fire has a lot of damage over time, which means as you hit that threshold for Scourge and you hit that 30%, whatever, you start taking extra damage from the damage over time, increasing the overall DPS of that character.
Yeah.
So, yeah, water, ice, fire. There's a number of power sets that have some good damage over time components, but fire primarily. And so putting that together with slowing people down might be a really winning combination for all I know.
Hmm.
I did it because Chrono Crossfire sounded like a cool name off of an old game. And she
Yeah.
looks like a time traveler, let's be honest. But maybe I'm the only one. Need help on a melee region Scrapper versus Stalker. Which route would you all go? I'm not the biggest fan of Scrappers.
Hands, defensive.
I enjoy playing Stalkers just a little bit more than Scrappers, but I got one Stalker, so that tells you. Do you guys want to see a Stalk? I can do a little Stalker if you want. I could play a Stalker, or we could do a duo with Chrono Crossfire, or we could do a Fire Farm. Does anybody want to do anything today? What about Dugout? Is Dugout doing something? Is he busy? He's been patiently on the call.
I am. No, I'm just hanging out here. I'm looking at new enhancements. I'm trying to figure out what I need for my Shoal Rush ability. I'm just trying to. I'm looking at the allowed enhancements and seeing which ones I can get, and trying to figure out which one affects the enemy, not my guys. I think I buffed my guys. Now I just want to make sure I get the.
And did you watch Phil's 3.5 hour video for tips on how to do enhancements on your character?
If I say yes, you won't yell at me? No, I did not yet.
No, there is no such video. So you're safe.
I know we were making jokes about the chapter and stuff. I should just ask, what chapter is that in again? So
All
I
right.
can bookmark it to post it.
Where?
Well, so I'm looking at Shoal Rush, and it says that range, target, AOE, foe, negative defense, comma, negative speed, comma, special. So I want to do the one where it affects the foe. So I'm just trying to figure out.
And generally speaking,
Wording
the negatives are going to be your foe effects, and negative speed
Yeah,
is going to slow
I'm
them
looking for-
down.
I'm trying to figure out which one lowers the enemy's defenses so my animals can just eat them faster.
Yeah, but you know that's where you also look into details. Like some of those components on some of those elements are only like reduces resistance by 1 point. So if you put enhancement on something, it'll be like 1.2 points. That's nothing. But if it, if it's substantial, then it's worth slotting into. And I haven't looked
Now,
at Shoal, but
so I'm looking right here. I got Catalyst for defense extension, which is a defense buff, and I have Awakening defense degradation, a defense debuff. So that's where I get sometimes thrown off when I buy the wrong one. So I'm just taking my time to read them all right now.
oh yeah, yep.
Increases defense buff, so I don't want that one. I want the defense debuff, it looks like.
Yeah, lunchtime, but please keep talking. I'm very good at talking. My wife says I have a big mouth, Robert, so you're safe there.
Lower an opponent's defenses, that's the one I want, yep.
Plus, if Zeus says the wrong thing, he'll get me ranting about some game mechanics. So.
Oh, yeah. I have like a little list I keep on the side of like only it's the break glass in case of emergency. I'm like, if I ever need to distract Phil, I know what to do.
Get knocked down.
I do have so I was talking about those merit rewards earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And if we take a look, this character has 77 merit rewards. So that's only worth about 12 million. So she's a little, my opinion would be a little broke for a character of this level. I think that's because I primarily leveled her through groups and some farming, and farmings don't give you any of this.
Excuse me, Phil?
Mm-hmm.
Is knockback the same as knockdown?
No, knockback is the one that pisses people off in groups because it flings the enemy back like a rag doll. Knockdown just slaps them to the ground.
I don't see that. I must be going right past it.
But you know what? I wonder if they don't use the same enhancement though. Just the knockdown might use the knockback enhancement. That's a great question. I want to say it probably does use the same enhancement.
No, this one states the knockback distance by 60%. Okay, nope. I want knockdown. Run, sleep, slow, stun, taunt, placate, hit debuff, 2-hit debuff. Charge range. Interrupt, immobilize.
Yeah, but one of the things I want to do, guys, but it's going to be like a long-term project. I'll show it to you here, and maybe I could just work on this right now.
No, there's no knockback. I'll try the double IO then, I guess. That's not a single one.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right on that. So this character right here, I'm just leveling from 1 to 50 just using story arcs, and seeing how many merit rewards I'll have at the end for science. Science. Yeah. The only thing is I don't know if I'm going to like this character a whole lot because the power set may not be great. I don't know. I heard it's really good at 50 though, but I don't know if the trip to 50 is going to break me.
Mm-hmm.
The Polite Punisher has been mostly soloing. He's a dapper gentleman.
Yeah. Always apologizes after throwing a punch.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It's taking the knockback for knockdown. All right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Do you like, generally speaking, Zeus? Do you like high damage characters, high control characters, melee characters, tanky characters? What do you tend to prefer in games?
I play.
And he's
I haven't played a ton of MMOs, but I like playing support, like healer type stuff. I think that the reactive play or predictive play around health bars is super interesting in the MMOs I've played. But when it comes to doing other roles, I think they're all pretty interesting. I like in DPSs, I like having restrictions, either needing to be in melee and do that risky positioning, or being a caster that has restrictions on movement. I think are both fun to play with. And I haven't done a lot of tanking, but I fiddled around a little bit with it recently. In there's a game called Fellowship that's like the World of Warcraft Mythic Plus dungeon stuff, just as a standalone game. That's one that I want to dig into more.
Well,
But yeah.
let's talk. I love support too. I when I was
Hmm.
playing like World of Warcraft, I played priest.
Hmm.
When I played, Final Fantasy, I was doing white mage and scholar and the such. I love playing support,
Yeah.
right? But
Hmm.
I hate people.
Oh, that's a
So
toughie.
so what do you do, right?
You get in a group with them and then you don't heal them. That's the best way to show that you hate them.
Well, this is true. Well, here's what's really interesting is that a lot of MMOs have been making it easier and easier to basically run without the healer. Right.
Hmm.
And that makes me sad because I like support. I
Guild Wars
like playing
2.
healers. Guild Wars 2. Yeah, we're looking at you, Guild Wars 2, right?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, that's my biggest
Um,
complaint. No
yeah.
rules.
Roles? What roles? Right?
Everybody does everything. Well, then nobody's nothing. Exactly.
All
Just to
right.
play.
Right. So what's a support person to do if you like support but you hate people? Well, City of Heroes has your back, my friend, Mr. Zeus. It's
Hmm.
called the Mastermind.
Yeah.
Originally just a villain class, and now anybody can play them. And
Hmm.
and it's a great solo class because what
Hmm.
you do is you call up your minions, and this one's nature. I have robots. There's a couple of different really cool themes out there, but
Hmm.
this is a nature themed one,
Hmm.
and he has wolves and he has a lion. Their job is to do the damage. My job is to make sure they don't die.
Hmm.
So, and you know what? Because they're good puppies and good kitty, they never give me mouth. They don't go Leroy Jenkins. Okay, that's wrong. They do pull the whole dungeon sometimes, but
Nope.
if
Sometimes
they
you do it. Someone can't do follow or heal correctly.
if they do, it's an accident. Because they're just too zealous
It's
as
an
good puppy
oopsie.
dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you'll see me do here is I will support them. I will keep them healed. I will debuff the enemies a lot. I had one person
Hmm.
write in and said he had a really hard time playing Mastermind because he felt so squishy, he was dying a lot. And so I showed him a video and I was like, watch how I play this. I think one mistake, and I could be wrong, I don't watch people play, but my guess would be is that you're focusing on doing the damage yourself because you have some attack powers. And
Hmm.
instead of making it your primary concern to buff, debuff, and heal, and
Hmm.
basically support. In tougher
Hmm.
fights, that is absolutely key.
Hmm.
So this guy's powers, his primary powers, of course, are to call and buff the pets. So let me buff
Yeah.
these guys up. He's also got a couple of attacks. I can call forth a hawk to attack enemies, insects to attack enemies. Um, and
And
this
the
is
hawk
a,
gives the debuff.
the hawk even debuffs. There you go. The secondary power set I picked on this guy is called Marine Affinity, which is a lot of water and fish. I figured he's like the total beast master, so he gets land and sea. The water has a lot of buffing and debuffing in it, and healing and stuff. So we'll stick the wolves after this guy here. Go get him, and then
Yeah,
I'll
big
jump.
improvement now with the upgrades. Oh yes.
Yeah, I'll jump in here. This healing water, for example, lowers enemies' damage output. This pool of water right here lowers their damage, their speed, and unhides them with their stealth while increasing my wolves' damage output. So you just want to stack on those buffs and debuffs during tougher fights or prolonged fights. During easier fights, you could probably just hand wave it and be just fine and dandy.
Yeah.
You
I
can,
think a lot of the.
yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Oh yeah, like I do like in the healer role for MMOs, there's this tension of you might have some lower output damage abilities or things that are kind of you're not as efficient as the other characters, but the idea is that if you
Why
can
am I stuck
if
on?
it's safe to pump damage,
Oh my
then you
god, I'm
do
stuck.
that to get that extra bit of efficiency out of your time. I think that tension of can I afford to spend global cooldown on damage or should I save it for healing? That's like a neat tension to struggle with too.
All right. Like one
One of
thing
the
you. Oh, go ahead.
oh, just this is a little side thing. There's a game called Mini Healer on Steam that's just about the healing game, like gameplay idea. It's a side 2D side view kind of game where there's a boss. They might have some mechanics that are inspired by different things from World of Warcraft or whatnot, but you've got your abilities that you use, and you're just trying to keep your NPC party alive as they fight these bosses. It's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm. And I think
It's got
Oh, go ahead.
oh sorry, yeah, it's got a talent tree and like specializations, so you get that whole kind of varied experience of, are you a more offensive healer? Do you need to pack on extra traits for defense? That kind of neat stuff. That's all.
Yeah, well, I think that's a great premise of, like, we're gonna make an RPG where you're trying to keep this team buffed and alive because you're playing this. There's a lot of people I talk to that really like playing support, so I'd be interested if you really focused a game around it. Xenoblade, you could obviously play, Manuela, whatever her name is, the healer, and you could just sit
Charla,
around. Yeah. Um, Going back into the city, Axel. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do real life. Real life sucks. So you can see here, yeah, this is here wolves. I could definitely bump up this difficulty. Honestly, these guys are doing so good. I could bump this up to 2 players probably and still do just fine. But did I tell you about the dungeon delves in World of Warcraft and how they made solo healers a thing in that mode?
Oh yeah, like if you over heal them, they do more damage or something like that.
Yeah. So an excellent way to engage those players, I think.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It depends on, in some ways, if maximizing your healing output leads to more damage, it's this. I think that's okay, but it feels a little weird. It's almost at that point kind of the same as doing damage, right? You're optimizing some sequence or rotation of actions that lead to the most output on your target. I think that can be fun because, like, that's a lot of DPS play is that neat, executing that rotation or solving that problem. I think one of my favorite things about the healing mode is the, like, prioritization decisions around your healing targets and how you split up between them, and that kind of stuff would be even more fun to capture. I think is, I've got 3 characters and one of them stood in this mechanic that got hit by the laser or by the puddle, and now I've got to choose how to deal with that against the tank who's always taking their steady damage.
Mm-hmm. Tellyhawk! Sorry. Every time I see that bird the bird goes, "Caw!" I just want to go, Tellyhawk! For some reason. I don't know why.
Throw a bird at him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hawk attack that we have that gives us a 30-second buff.
Look at that bird just go after him. Claw, 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 claw.
Who shot me from the back? It's over here.
There's just kind of water here. You don't know exactly where that water's going, but it's really funny as you put it up there. Now, what is that water just hovering above us? I don't know. You'll see that in the stream in a minute, but that's old school jank for you.
Oh yeah. The other thing I like about healers that I would be happy working around is I think that the resource management of the mana bar is pretty cool, and I think that games where that's a bigger factor is fun for me.
In City of Heroes, it definitely can be a factor. I find it less of a factor on the Mastermind just because you don't have the pressure on your energy bar for offense because your pets are handling that, right? And so you're not terribly doing a lot on that side of things. You don't have a lot of, like, tanks usually burn up a lot of endurance keeping their defenses up, but you don't have that factor going on. I find that Masterminds tend to be a little bit less endurance heavy. They do have plenty of different builds you can do, even with the endurance heavy classes, to mitigate and manage a lot of that. And by the end game, it can be a pretty much a negligible factor. But when you're doing the character building, it is something that, generally speaking, you're making sure to work into your build if you don't want to worry about it. You are making some
you've
trade-offs.
got some solution.
Yeah. But you are trading off, right? You are choosing to take this over this, and maybe you could have been more this or that if you were willing to engage with that. But a lot of people just would rather not bother with managing their endurance bar. So once they get the opportunity to spec out of the endurance bar, so to speak, they will oftentimes take that choice. And this is kind of interesting. You got a couple of snake guys fighting this guy over here. So that's pretty interesting.
It makes some sense. I think that Final Fantasy XIV was an example of like the way that I don't like so much, where there's a skill that you would activate on cooldown and you just fit it in between your other stuff. And as long as you're executing it, you're sticking to the rotation of pressing it. Mana pressure as a resource isn't really a thing. I mean, the game's focus is in a totally different area than, I don't know, like World of Warcraft out of mana stuff they worry about. Even World of Warcraft has changed over time and all that. But
yeah, I will say it is gotten. It's almost like the opposite of City Heroes, at least from what I played, in that mana is almost non-concern during the leveling process, which is the opposite of City Heroes, where it's the biggest concern. And then at the end game, though, when you're doing hot and sweaty dungeons, then at least on my priest, all of a sudden, definitely mana becomes a bigger and bigger concern for those particular fights. Out of fight, there's, you just get it right back, no problem. But in a fight, boss fights, longer fights, it becomes a bigger and bigger concern of how you're going to manage that.
Sort of, and at least because I did like the Savage rating and stuff for the most of the Endwalker expansion.
Oh, I was talking about WoW, but yeah.
Oh, WoW. I get what you're saying. Yeah, I think WoW does become a factor. Final Fantasy XIV, they kicked it to the curb, made me cry.
Yeah. It's kind of what the city's demanding. They don't want to deal with a mana bar, right? Heaven forbid. They don't want to deal with the mana bar. So you're seeing that and people don't want to wait to rest in between fights. So it is something more and more MMOs are leaning away from, like careful resource management in between fights, or even within fights themselves. Oh, just give me cooldown management. Cooldown management. Yay, cooldown management. Like, okay, I suppose. Look at this! I just hit a level where I get the dire wolf, the ultimate wolf.
Lucky.
Oh, who's gonna be a good boy? The dire wolf is.
Did you rename your pets yet?
No, they have to hit level 50 before they get a name. All right. Sorry, puppy, you don't get a name till you hit level 50. All right, let's see what it is. Ooh, that is a big ass wolf. Oh, he's the alpha. He's the alpha pup. I love the even though it's an old game, I love the animations on the pets and stuff.
It's good.
Who's a
good puppy?
Who's a good puppy?
So good, you should give him a name.
We'll see if he earns it.
Line.
We'll see. We'll see. Let's see here. All right, I will show you. Speaking of liking to manage and stuff, I will show you. This is a class that I rated pretty low on the solo list, but it's so much fun to play. I got more of them than any other class, pretty much. Or it's a really close first place tie. This is the real dangerous character too. This I might have shown you. I don't know what I've shown you. I might have already shown you Blue Lazuli. Blue Lazuli. Where is Lazuli? There she is. Okay. Let me see what contacts she has. She has contacts. She has missions. You ever read a lot of X-Men there, Zeus?
A little bit, but not a ton. Yeah, don't keep up too regularly, so I'm familiar with a number of the characters, but I'm not deep in.
So back in the, Psylocke has been through numerous iterations, right, over the decades.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. You need like a flow chart to keep up with her whole story, and whatnot. I try not to think too hard about it because I don't want to end up with a brain aneurysm. But in the 90s, when I was collecting, the early 90s when I was collecting comics, you had basically her.
That was her best character.
Right, and that's why they seem to bring that one back again. Now they just made a separate character through mumbo jumbo magic bullshit. Just because the city demanded it, which understandably so. Anyways, one of the interesting things about that character back in the day was, way back before Betsy Braddock, Psylocke was more of your long range, psychic manipulator, right? Kind of like a weaker version of Professor Xavier or Jean Grey. She would do this butterfly effect, and do things with people's minds, and she looked squishy as all get out, like zero defense. If you were putting this into an RPG, a stiff sneeze would knock her over if something was immune to her mental or whatever. She couldn't get the offense off. When she became a ninja, for whatever reason, I didn't see that whole story. I don't care to. But when I got in, she was already Japanese ninja Betsy Braddock.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. And I just took it for what it was worth. I knew I had heard that I had seen some pictures and had read like one or two old stories. I was collecting classic X-Men back in the day, so I knew about the old Betsy Braddock. But then there was the new Psylocke. And it seemed like a more compelling character. Now, the thing about Psylocke was she was trained as a ninja assassin. But she had the mental powers of Betsy Braddock. So she was this combination of the two.
Wasn't she retconned from two people into one or something like that?
Oh, yeah. Don't even get me started. You don't. No.
Same exact age. So, yeah, we read the same stuff.
You and I were on the same page, right?
Yep.
Now, the cool thing about, the interesting thing about her stories was she had, I love characters who have character flaws. Like, that's one of my main complaints with a lot of modern characters is that they're perfect in every way. They don't have flaws.
Yeah, they need flaws.
Yeah. Psylocke's, one of her biggest flaws was that she leaned too much on her ninja-ness. Because she was stealthy, she was fast, she could dodge pretty darn well. She is trained ninja. And she even would say to herself, she gets addicted to it because of the adrenaline rush, the dopamine. She gets addicted to the ninja fighting. When you're just sitting back there blasting people's, brains or setting up illusions in their heads or whatever, it's a little too safe. As a ninja, you get in there and get close, and you got to be at the right place, and you got to, counter and parry and all this jazz. She would get addicted. She's like, it's going to be the undoing of me one day. At one point, I think it was Jubilee, who was absolutely a worthless character. Jubilee,
horrible.
Oh, just so bad. She had accidentally. No, she didn't accidentally. Basically, Sabretooth, who was a captive at the time of the X-Men, she allowed him to provoke her. And her fireworks, which don't do shit except apparently, damage shackles enough to where Sabretooth can escape. Finally, so it did just that. There's no one in the X-Mansion hardly, except for Psylocke, as far as veteran X-Men go, whatever have you. So Psylocke has to engage Sabretooth and tells Jubilee to GTFO. This went about as well as you can possibly imagine it to go. Even if Psylocke's battle prowess was somehow on par with Sabretooth, and we all know it probably isn't, she doesn't have regeneration like Sabretooth does. And she doesn't have his sharp claws. She might have her psychic dagger. But here's the thing. Her psychic dagger advantage means nothing to Sabretooth because he's a psychopath. He was half shot in the brain, and he was practically immune. So it was GG, right, for her. And she ends up getting eviscerated through melee combat, right? So what does that have to do with this game? Here, other than the fact I might have that character built somewhere. But no, here, this character right here is made off of Black Canary from DC Comics. You ever seen that character?
Yep.
Right?
Green Arrow's wife. Yep.
Sonic powers with martial arts, right? The funny thing is, distance, as your sonic powers for the most part are distance, and your martial arts are mostly close range. The funny thing is, what you do is you hold them in this game with the control. The sonic powers are your control powers. So you hold them, you confuse them, you do whatever you have to do. And then you go in and you try to beat them up with the martial arts, right? Now, normally, I wouldn't take melee on a squishy class like a Dominator. They're there to control things and slowly wear them down for the most part. But I want to stay true to the character concept in the comics. So I went ahead and took the martial arts anyways, just to give it a shot, and I figured if I didn't like it, I'd put the character on the shelf. The fun thing is, it's actually pretty fun. It's high risk, but it is kind of high reward. She does more damage than most of the other Dominators I played. A lot of her melee attacks are AoEs. And when you're not fighting some stupid floating whatever the hell that thing was, just when you're fighting like normal humans, she can trip them, knock them down while she's doing damage to everybody around her. It's really cool. It's fun. It's a rush. But it's risky as hell, because if her controls break or she didn't lock everyone down, they'll counter, and she has practically no defense. So, at this level anyways. Later on I can get her some more defenses here. So, we'll use our bird song here to confuse this guy, and he'll start attacking his friends, which is always fun. That doesn't actually aggro for whatever reason, and don't complain about it, but... And then I'll try to beat up this guy here by controlling him with a different power. And I'll try to do some, like, spinning leg kicks and stuff. And he doesn't knock down? How rude. I need my dopamine hit of you just landing flat on your ass. But this is definitely a character where you're watching your energy management. Everything she does takes quite a bit of energy. You're watching energy management very carefully on this one. You have to consider positioning. You have to consider the health of your enemies. You have to play this character like you're playing mother effing chess. Right? Hey, Hobgoblin. I'm glad you like the art, right? Yeah. I do like having artwork for each of my characters. Very blessed to be in an... Oh, my effing goodness gracious. That's a busy room. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy.
You need a hand?
This is going to be a... Well, it's one of those things you're locked into once you start, but this is... Well,
you're in an Ouro. You're in an Ouro.
Yeah, so... But if you want to do something together, we can definitely do something together. I'm just laughing because it's like, you turn a corner into this room and this is what you get. Which you'll probably see in 20 seconds. But it's a room full of oranges and yellows, because of course it is.
Yeah. Don't run around with your sprint on, that's for damn sure.
Especially with this character, again, she's kind of squishy, so, you know, it's asking for a problem. But we'll try to control them. Oh, I forgot to put down my... Oh, I'm almost dead. I'm so dead. I'm so dead. I'm so dead. This is not good. I don't have... I was dumb. I didn't bring any heals, or I've already used them all up somewhere else. So I'm going to run outside and get some heals. Know when to walk away. Know when to run. Right?
Yep. Alright, where the bad guys at over here?
That was not good chess on my part. I run away more with this character probably than any other character I play. But I've got some little healies right there in the old storage box, so we just go outside and pull from that. You should make a Mind Psi melee dominator like Psylocke. Well, parallel, it's funny you should mention that. We can definitely show you that after this if you want. But it's not a dominator. I'll let you try to figure out which one it is. Get our health back here real quick. I'm taking a knee for mankind, and I'll do a better job of controlling people. Yeah, in a fight like that, I should definitely lock them down first. It's really hard sometimes for me to make out who's in front and who's in the back. So that doesn't help my chances
Phrasing.
out any. What's that?
I said phrasing.
No. Let's see here.
The joke from Archer.
Oh. I would have to watch Archer to get the joke, I imagine. Oh, come on. Just control, for crying out loud. He's kicking my butt. Like, what do I have to do to get through to your butt? Arachnoses, to be fair, I think are pretty resistant is the problem. So this is a nightmare scenario for a Dominator. I don't care what Dominator you're playing. Alright, we're going to use Domination, which doubles the effectiveness pretty much of most of my Doms. Yeah, and these guys who float up in the air, like, I don't even think I can knock them down with a spinning kick or anything. So
yeah,
all
give them tied up to a radial bubble so they can get up there.
So all of these things are just really resistant to what this character is built to do.
Well, that's a bad matchup, for sure.
It is really bad. Arachnoses are the worst. And when I was playing Stardust, who's a villain, and you've got Arachnoses all over God's creation, it is just brutal. There we go. I store, hey lads, how are you doing today? I store resurrections in my email. I don't store a whole bunch of Heelys and stuff because it would just be a lot of emails. And I just usually, if I'm, oh gosh, speaking of emailing those things, if I need a bunch of Heelys, I just walk back outside and get them from the auction house, which I've got a whole bunch bought and sitting in my auction house storage. Oops, I'm mailing that to the wrong character. There we go. But that's what I do. Everyone can do whatever works for them. But it would help if I used my little musical buddy to help me out. See that Fortuna right there? Yeah, anybody else would have been mind controlled right then and there. Especially since I think I'm using Domination still. But she doesn't care. She's just going to kick my butt. Look at that. She is totally kicking my butt. What? Fudge. Yeah, she is totally kicking my rear end. Yeah, this is a rough matchup. It's a little frustrating. With speaking of design decisions, you're doing an MMO. Do you have enemies that shut down class combinations? Mm-hmm. So, in World of Warcraft, for example, you're playing a fire mage. Do you have a bunch of fire-resistant enemies? World of Warcraft says, no, not really.
Yeah, resistances are kind of weird to work around. Just in the way that MMOs are usually designed nowadays, it's a strange feature.
Yeah, like most MMOs would say no. Like in World of Warcraft, you can literally beat up a molten lava giant with fire spells.
Mm-hmm. You should be completely immune to that.
Right, but then you would shut down those people who choose that, and they can't just easily change to ice on the fly, right? Like
that's like in the fantasy of the world, it makes sense that it would be immune to it. But in the way the gameplay rules are constructed, you specialize into it. And fire and ice, like, play differently. They have different goals or different executions and that kind of thing. That's what makes them distinct, not really the flavor of their damage. They could both be fire slow mage and fire fast mage if you wanted. It wouldn't really matter. Right, that's true. That's absolutely true. And whatnot. And I still have no real clue how I'm going to handle this lady. Yeesh. Alright, we're just going to eat a bunch of Tic Tacs and hope for the best. And I don't have any defensive Tic Tacs, sadly. Holy cow, look at that. My health bar just getting decimated. Gosh, dang it. And I can't seem to, like, charm the other guys to attack her for me. Like, yeah, this is a terrible, terrible matchup. Look at that. Just brutal. Son of a gun. Any of you guys done this kind of... Well, normally I don't have this much of a problem with the matchup, but... Yeah, oh boy. She is just tearing me up. Let me grab some of these defenses and this. That would probably help us if I take a bunch of defenses in there. Yeah, she is just middle finger.
Middle finger to the Dominator. Now, the nice thing with the story arcs is if you get to know them well enough and stuff, you can just pick the ones that are good matchups if you want.
Yeah.
You can absolutely, if this frustrates you too much, you can absolutely... Normally, I play these games to feel powerful, not to feel like the game's going to make a middle finger to my, my builds and stuff. That doesn't... to me, that never feels great. I mean, if it can get me to think differently about how to play my character to beat the fight, then that's a different thing. But it kind of feels like here, you either got the right consumables, and that's pretty much your only solution here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's some element of, if the game's about adapting to your scenario or picking your battles, then you have that tension, and there's some feeling of maybe I should scout out my missions ahead of time to make sure I pick the right ones, or maybe I should build my character in a way where they've got kind of a fallback plan. But I think in a game like City of Heroes, you want to fulfill the idea of a superhero who like fits into the powers he visualized and all that stuff. Maybe there's some interest in having a backup plan or making them pick the right things, but I think you want to build the missions in a way that's robust so that it's like an interesting choice to pick what you want to do. Don't just have like landmine quests that look like all the other quests. It feels a little half-baked.
Yeah, I do think it was kind of a fairly ballsy choice to say we are going to have, enemy groups, with these specific resistances and vulnerabilities that can definitely be much easier, harder for certain people. And hence, I mean, the fire farmers, right, are definitely built around that concept. It's built around, hey, we can build our characters resistant to fire and super resistant to fire because that's all they do. I do like it when she does the spinning kicks and stuff like that. You'll see it in 20 seconds, but I do like that. It feels so kinetic. Unfortunately, these enemies are a middle finger to what she's doing because a lot of them won't fall over. They're immune to what we call mezzas, which includes being knocked down. And so they're not really following the normal mechanics, but it is fun when it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Those are nice kicks.
What is funny, though, is those floating drone guys aren't immune to being mind-boggled. So they do seem to, it seems to be easy to turn them against each other. Which you'll see in 20 seconds.
What does it mean to be sentient, Phil? That's
right?
What they're really trying to make us consider.
It is the real question here. What is sentience? Are they not life forms like us? They're like Data from Star Trek.
Very good.
If you mind boggle him, does he not get confused?
It depends on the specific mechanisms of the mind boggle. If it's electrical interference hitting the neurons in your brain, maybe it would mess with Data. We just don't know.
We don't. But City of Heroes has an answer. Oh, watch what doors you run by. You never know when there's one of these guys just hiding in there waiting for you.
I worry about that every office hallway I walk down.
Right. You just never know when there's a bunch of black guard soldiers or whatever the hell they're called waiting to have their way with you. Oh gosh, we just hit the menagerie of Black Widow soldiers.
Just got title pool.
Now we're gonna do a bunch of spinning roundhouse kick. Oh, he got knocked over good there. That was fun. So that's what they're supposed to do. Fall over like little tin soldiers.
White cap.
Oh, seeing the mind control made me think. I do like the status effects in Tactics Ogre. I think that they're appropriately strong, which feels good. They can have a 30, a 40, a sub 50% success rate, but sleeps over the top. The charm is great. I like those quite a bit. Did a good job not making them feel ineffectual.
Here's what's really funny. There's one guy left. I'm low on energy. So I charm him and then I take a rest. Which leaves you
Yeah.
very vulnerable, but, he's picking his robotic nose. So. Plus, if I sit there long enough, I think my pet will kill him. Because I do have my little musical pet.
The disco ball.
The disco ball. I don't know. I don't know what the hell that thing is, but it is. It is doing the thing.
Oh, wrong one. Damn it.
A friend of mine got me Claire Obscure recently.
I'm sorry.
I started playing it. That'll be an interesting one to talk to. I didn't talk through at some point. I saw that that you were not enamored with it.
No. No.
But,
if I want freaking what are they called? Oh my gosh, the term has left my head. Where they flash buttons on the screen, real-time events or whatever they're called.
QuickTime events.
QuickTime events, right. If I want real-time events in my games, I'll go play Resident Evil, which I absolutely love that series. But damn, those real-time fucking active whatever events.
Yeah, it's an interesting one where it's got that kind of rhythm game. It's definitely more action game feely than traditional RPG structure. But I think that in particular the offensive decision making, there's a lot of that kind of synergistic combination stuff with your party, which has some of that build interest going on.
Well, I feel like
I've got some different feelings on it, but I'm not disliking it.
So here's what kind of gets on my nerves a bit. Two things is one is apparently if you put the game on super hard, I'm pretending that's a setting, you can get through it, no problem if you got the timing down.
Yeah.
Right? Because nothing will touch you. Right? So and now the RPG elements of defensive builds doesn't mean shit as long as you know how to do the timing. Yeah. Conversely, if you've got the best defensive builds, whatever, as such as it is in the game, and you get hit on super hard, you're still dead. So your defensive builds don't mean nearly as much in that game as it would in a normal RPG, which is kind of the main reason I play an RPG. Now, the other thing that bothers me is at the end of the day, I'm not against action-y RPGs. One of my favorite series is Monster Hunter. It very much is about your builds, but you're also playing in real time and everything else. But that game is built from the ground up as an action-focused, RPG, and it's been building over years, so it's done really, really well. The problem with a lot of these little games, and they go back to this is nothing new. I mean, people have been trying to put action elements in RPGs for a very long time, but usually a big problem is that they don't do the action elements very, very well. This is a big problem for people who try to tackle Monster Hunter, and the Monster Hunter genre has been often imitated, right, but never replicated, because it really is hard to get a good balance of a game system that feels action-y smooth and then leaves enough room for build diversity and stuff that actually feels fun and engaging. It's a lot of moving pieces to try to work out at the same time. So what they end up doing in a lot of these games is they go really, really shallow on one or the other. You either have a game with decent action mechanics but very shallow RPG mechanics, or vice versa. Luigi, for example, just very simple action mechanics. I could do without it.
Yeah, I think that it's like a rhythm game is the way I look at it. Like I wouldn't draw the comparison to Monster Hunter for Claire Obscure, where there's a game Hi-Fi Rush that came out a while back that was like a hybrid of beat 'em up and rhythm stuff. It was very stylish. I thought it had a lot of good points, but I think that the way that Claire Obscure ends up working out is that you press you get into some fight. The process of beating the enemies is a little messy because it's like if you know the rhythm game, the defensive gameplay is gone. I've got the same feeling on that as far as it's too bad. I like did you ever, when I was growing up, there was a game called Paper Mario for the Nintendo 64. I think that game was awesome. I played it a bunch. It had action commands, so it had the thing where you jump on the enemy like Mario and Luigi, where you're pressing the button at the right time to get a better effect out of your action. And I think in that game, one of the things that was good about it was that you had defense where you'd try to time a button press with when the enemy makes contact with you, but it just reduced the damage by a point. It was a pretty low damage system, so it was meaningful and you wanted to do it, but it didn't negate that aspect of play. And I do think it's a disappointment to have your mitigation decision making be reduced in that way.
Yeah, well, a rhythm game is definitely a different animal, in my opinion, because it's based off the music and the rhythm and the timing off the music, and you just focus on the music and you're trying to hit the buttons, at the same time. And usually there's not a lot of room for RPG mechanics in that. You're either hitting the notes or you're not. But this is more of like, you're trying to time things with the action that's on the screen. And that will be different for every monster because wherever the animators or whatever have chosen, okay, these are the frames where you need to press the button, right? And so it's lining up with whatever vision, whatever. And every monster has different animations, and you gotta then get used to each of those in the meantime you get your butt kicked. So I hope you like reloading until you get used to that particular monster. And then you fight a new boss, and your skills from that last boss probably won't carry over to this one because this one has different animations and different timings. That's how they kind of keep it fresh, I suppose. But it's also, for me, irritating because, oh, wait, now I've died again. Let me reload again. I don't like dying. I don't play to get my butt kicked over and over again. It doesn't feel like an RPG where proper planning, theory crafting, allows you to put it, puzzle solving can solve the day. It's whether or not I can quickly identify, the timing window that they put on this thing. I don't know. There's games that do a lot of that, like Dark Souls and shit, and if we want to play perfect dodging timing window games.
I
feel like
I think
better.
it's like a particular subgenre they're aiming for, which is it's got the rhythm elements of like when you play a song in Guitar Hero, and you're listening to the music, but it's really about recognizing the pattern they're putting in front of you and executing it. It's that sort of appeal is the defensive half of the game. And then I think the RPG synergistic sort of party planning stuff is in the offense of the game, kind of unmitigated by the systems they built. It's an interesting one to me that I think that I would prefer a game that has more emphasis on the RPG elements and defense too, but I think that it did work out for me where I'm playing on their hard difficulty. There might be stuff in New Game Plus or something that's harder, but like I picked the stats for defense because I figured the game will be boring if everything becomes a you get hit you die. I think that will be a lot less fun. So I've been having a good time with it, more or less. Like I'll miss some commands, I'll get some, and I'll be able to play in response. It's sort of like a percentage chance, but instead of it being a dice roll that determines whether I get hit or not, it's my accuracy with the button presses. So it's a different game. It's very particular, and it makes sense that it's not going to be universally appealing. And I still have my misgivings with it too.
Now conversely, I enjoyed Shadow Hearts. You ever play that one? So Shadow Hearts, what they do instead of rolling a dice, there's a spinning wheel that spins around rather quickly. And if you hit it in certain areas, you'll get a critical hit. Other areas will be regular. The big areas will be a regular hit. And then the other areas are a miss. And so, and I often say like JRPGs get kind of boring. They're just attack, and heal. But adding that little spinning wheel was something that at least mixed it up a titch. Now, the nice thing about this, and the thing that makes it feel like a proper RPG to me in that regard, is that you can modify that wheel with equipment. So you can get equipment, for example, that makes the critical zones almost non-existent, but greatly increases to hit zones, which means you'll hardly ever miss, unless you're really super dumb with timing. But they have all kinds of different. They got one that slows down, a piece of equipment that slows down the speed of the wheel spinning. They have all this different equipment, so you can basically, in a way, through equipment, min-max and or make the experience the way you want. And that feels closer to Monster Hunter to me, because it's a mix of, okay, we got these action elements, those action elements are important, but you can use the RPG mechanics and the build mechanics to tailor that experience to what you prefer. So if you're not a high risk taker, then maybe you want to take that one piece of equipment that, you know, gets rid of crits but lowers your chances of missing. But if you're a high risk taker, this one has more critical zones, but the wheel's going to spin faster, so you're more likely to miss that timing. And so now you're blending the RPG elements much better, I think, with the, you know, with whatever action elements you're putting in there, and that to me feels really good.
Yeah, I think it's like a trade-off where I think I'd also like that kind of strategic interaction, because with all of these action command systems, that's why I think of them, because that was what they were called in Paper Mario, but they're substituting some sort of execution skill for a totally uncontrollable randomness in your hit percentage or whatever. But I think that having degrees of strategic control or things outside of your execution affecting it is fun. It's fun to play around and work with. I do respect, I think that there's something to be said with Claire Obscure's decision. I think it's interesting, and I think Paper Mario was in the similar territory where your button presses are timed with the enemy's attacks, and it makes it's like less abstraction over the system. When you're fighting a Koopa Troopa, your decisions making is based on what the Koopa Troopa does, and it's timed with their movement on the screen in a way where there isn't the wheel popping up that's like an abstract element that's separate from the combat. So I think whether you care about abstraction or not is a matter of personal preference, but it's I think there's some upside in having it feel like fully integrated with the scene or the enemies you're fighting when you're timing your button press to react to when the turtle looks like he's going to run into Mario or whatever.
And kind of made me think of another subject along the lines of like dice rolling and RNGs and everything else. And by the way, you saw I finally got into a rhythm with her with these guys. I didn't run into another one of those super orange kill lieutenants, which certainly helped, though those one ladies are just practically immune. The rest of these soldiers were pretty resistant, but they're not 100% resistant. Like that one soldier I was fighting took like a couple of applications of mind control, but eventually got through to them. So they were tougher. It was just that one lady was practically, literally a middle finger immune to my character class. But anyways, got into a rhythm, but you kind of see more of that gameplay there with her being, it's very, I feel like I should find one that isn't so painful, but it's very, to me, this class is more of your, I don't recommend it for new players, I don't recommend it for soloing, generally speaking, but if you're like the person who, like you, who cares about things like positioning, energy management, feeling rewarded for being smart about how you approach a combat and being punished when you get dumb, this class right here, I feel like really hits those nails on the head. And does it, like, there's a class called Controller that's better at actually locking enemies down, but generally speaking, it doesn't feel as rewarding as this. This is a little bit more high risk, higher reward. The Dominator. Because the Dominator will do more damage overall with her attacks, especially this one being a more melee. It's more higher risk, more higher reward. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you can have high risk and low reward, and it's still kind of fun. Like, it's nice to feel rewarded for the things you do that are hard, but sometimes things just being bad, that's okay.
Yeah, right. Hopefully these guys, we're going to see if these is a new group of guys. Now, that guy confused on the very first application of the spell or the ability, and then I paralyzed that guy, and it looks like he's paralyzed. So, yeah. And actually, I think he got confused from my pet, because my pet echoes my songs. Yeah, and I'm just going to tear these guys up right here. Now, this will be a little bit more of a cakewalk, but I still have to be careful about positioning and stuff. If I pull like two groups at once, it can get hairy really quick. But I do feel like in a situation like this, I could probably up the difficulty and not have too much of an issue. But going back to that thing about the random factor. So one of the things that they talk about in game design is that the youngins don't like a lot of RNG. They don't like missed chances. No one likes missing. Missing feels bad. So in XCOM and stuff, games like that.
Don't get me started on that.
Right?
They need to go through that. I mean, how many times I played I was over in Galaxy and I make something, and I had a percent chance of failure, and I would actually fail, and I get so freaking mad.
But I don't think you understand. How can I feel like I get my participation trophy if I don't win every single time?
You don't get a participation trophy. That's the problem. You don't get it. It doesn't exist.
I think it's interesting problem as far as I think that variance in RPGs or in lots of games, I think variance is a lot of fun because it introduces diverse decision-making paths that you have to go down. It's like, well, if my shot in XCOM hits, here's how I think things will play out. But if it doesn't hit, what do I do? It creates a lot of complexity in your decision making if you're engaged with it and like wanting to see how it plays out. But on the other hand, if that's like, if you want to imagine the scenario that you're looking forward to and then it doesn't play out and you just feel frustrated, it's not a satisfying experience, even if in theory I think that it creates a lot of good. So there's different feelings for sure.
Yeah, well, so what they do in some of the modern tactical games is they just take your percentage chance, you just work that into math, right? So if normally you do 10 points of damage, it'd be a 50-50 miss chance, you just do 5.
Yeah.
Right? So...
That's boring.
What? No, but if, it makes you feel good because you did something. You didn't waste your turn.
You could do a gray shot. I think there's something to be said of like the bigger the gulf is between your successful roll and your unsuccessful roll, then there's like, I think feelings are important. It's important to consider the stuff for the game, but yeah, feelings don't matter. Math matters.
Now you're getting it. Now you sound like me.
But I think that you can do things like some people I know, they don't like status effect skills that have no damage component attached, because if the enemy resists it, it's like nothing happened.
Oh yeah. That's very common in games nowadays.
Sleep, paralysis. And so games will do things where they'll, or like SMT went in that direction with their instant kill, the Hama, the dark and light spells at one point were just like instant kill only, but they in more recent ones, SMT5 I think for sure did the thing where it's like damage with a chance to instant kill or whatever. So maybe that was the right decision on that particular one. It's like a case by case basis.
Well, I love what Persona Q did because they actually just make things hit more. Yeah, your instant stuff just works on almost everything outside of outside of a boss, and even on a boss it'll sometimes work. So give it a shot. You'll be a winner more often than you won't, and I don't know why, and that's what I like about City Heroes. City Heroes will let me control outside of those one group I run into. All these guys have been able to be controlled, confused, turn against each other, things like that. It lets you be powerful. It offsets that by, hey, you're kind of squishy. Positioning is important if you want to actually get through things quickly, right? You need to pay attention to positioning. And positioning yourself that way might make you more vulnerable. So enjoy the ride. So I think that's a much better game design than simply saying, yeah, your stuff misses, your stuff misses, your stuff doesn't work, your stuff misses.
Yeah, it's a tricky one where, like, I feel that in tabletop role-playing games, one of the things I don't always enjoy so much about like D&D 5th edition D20 system, the way it works is that you can have like a lot of outcomes in combat that do not advance the state of battle, and that just kind of can lead to a do-nothing feeling in the way that the rules function. Now there's lots of ways that you can run the game and play the game where you're like, I want to do this kind of action, I want to push the table over and use it for cover as I do this thing, and it feels more dynamic even if the attack you do misses. But But if you have a bunch of actions that are like, okay, I did my roll to hit, I missed, nothing happened. Now the game's in the same state it was before my turn, and if we all keep missing, we'll be here forever. That's not so satisfying.
Well, that's what happens with the D20 system. Sometimes you just have a run of bad luck where you can go through an entire round and have very little process to moving towards the end of the fight. Now, my fights are usually so deadly that you will feel the drain of resources and stuff that you're like, gosh, if we keep having rounds like this, we're going to be the ones who die. Yeah, if we keep having these bound rounds, we won't be here forever because we'll run out of resources and we'll eventually lose.
Yeah. I mean, I think that having your hit rate higher and your damage a little less deadly, something like, gonna fall back to my favoriteest series of all time, Etrian Odyssey's combat doesn't have a lot of misses in it typically, but you're always, it's the attrition of damage that's applied. I think that is a system where things are always moving on health bars. There's a cost associated with the actions. I don't dislike that idea.
Yeah. Now, don't tell Doug out this, but what I do with like bosses and stuff in Pathfinder a lot of times is normally if you're trying to make a boss and you want to level them up above the party, there's a blanket formula that's used to just up their armor class and their defenses and their hit points and all this jazz. What I do instead is I don't apply as much of that to their armor class, and I greatly increase the hit points, which
that's the way to do it, I think.
Yeah. Which does give you some, if you're using like a mod that lets you see like long health bars, you're like, wow, that's a long health bar. But on mine it doesn't. It just says they're barely injured, badly injured, whatever. If the player gets an opening of saying, oh, I just did 100 points of damage, you don't know if it's 100 out of 800, but the typical enemy right now at the level they're playing has like 250. But this guy over here has 450. You don't know that, but you just see, oh yeah, I got to do the crit, rather than, oh yeah, I missed, 0 damage. Ha.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one. And so that's that dividing line of I think that variance is good when outcomes aren't set in stone ahead of time. It creates complex branching outcomes without requiring a huge decision space. So like in chess or something like that, there are many choices you can make, and that creates complexity that is similar to a dice roll, where maybe you can evaluate the odds your opponent chooses one option or another, and those decisions you're estimating are weighted based on like how well they analyze it or how deeply they look into it. But you get that effect in chess because there are so many possible decisions that can happen, and it's so complex. So you can take an RPG that has many fewer choices in decision making, but have a very, very interesting dynamic branching tree of choices by having the randomness element added to your game, by having different choices and options possible. It's neat.
By the way, like in the shaman here, they'll put down little hurricanes around them, which will push you back. I mentioned that before. They'll run up to you and push you back, things like that. But with this character, if you get paralyzed, which is something she can do, or what we call a hold, your little persistent spell falls apart. So there's a strategic thing of like, okay, those guys are doing this, let me lock those guys down so that stops. Because that's especially with a more melee focused character, I don't need that keeping me from getting to them. And I was able to manage that situation with confusions, locking some things down like that, and some application of the good old boot to the head here and there to take that. That was a difficult situation and just tear it apart piece by piece. Whereas like other classes, like I really love Sentinel for soloing, or even that pet class I was showing you, that would have been a little bit more of a Leroy Jenkins, let's just get in there and get it done. Send in the wolves, support them, and just get it done. Yeah, these guys just all confused and just hitting each other. That's beautiful.
That's true friendship right there.
Yeah, the best enemies
It's
are
also interesting, so you can hit the ones that are mind controlled without breaking the mind control.
Exactly. It's so
That is,
beautiful.
yeah, that's an interesting one.
Like I said, the game
And the
did.
games where that's a flaw or a break is so painful when you target the wrong ones.
That's true.
I think EverQuest was like that, or 2 or 1. I forgot. I think it was EverQuest 2 that was like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty standard where you, like as a balancing feature, if it doesn't work that way, you could have somebody alone and they have no recourse if it's a long-lasting effect or whatever. It makes some sense, but it's very cool when the game doesn't restrict you. Like it's just like, oh, I guess I win. Gotcha.
Yeah, no, exactly. Again, this game doesn't mind you feeling powerful. One of the things they did recently was sleep powers are those powers that you can hit somebody and wake them up pretty quickly. And if you're playing in any sort of group who's not coordinating very well, that tends to happen more times than not. And to the point where most of us just wouldn't even take sleep powers. But then what they did is what they recently have done on the stronger control classes, Dominator, Controller, the sleep powers now put you into deep sleep, which now that will last a lot longer even if you get knocked on side of the head. You won't just be an instant wake you up. It'll shorten your duration until you wake up, but it won't just instantly wake you up. So you get a lot more value out of that now and have a reason to consider taking those powers again.
Interesting. Well, it's been really good hanging out. I've got to run and do some other stuff, I think, with the afternoon, but I've enjoyed talking for sure.
Oh, always a pleasure to have you around and chit chat about stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, even if you're a filthy tactics ogre lover.
Oh yeah, and I like playing Clair Obscur, at least in some aspects.
I know, right? Well, I had a friend who was feeling. He really hates one of these popular games, and we were talking about that late last night and stuff like that. I'm like, well, you're obviously preaching to the choir because Clair Obscur is a highly rated, overwhelmingly positive on Steam game, and I'm not the biggest fan. There was a guy who did a video that I really resonated with, and he explained some of the frustrations with Clair Obscur, and it does a lot of things right, but there's definitely some frustrations in there that that I think keep it from being a true masterpiece. Even if the gameplay wasn't for me, I can usually recognize, hey, that's a masterpiece. That's not for me. Elden Ring, whatever. Masterpiece, not for me. I don't think Clair Obscur. And I put some good time into it. I don't think it's a masterpiece. It's very beautiful to look at. Like artistically, I think it's it's got a lot of great art direction. But you need a lot more than that from my perspective for your. The gameplay has to be a masterpiece as well. And the story was kind of interesting. And he had some really, really good takes or interesting takes I resonated with anyways.
Yeah.
He did pick a bit on the fact that on the story, your choices don't have any real consequences. That I kind of am like, well, you kind of, you got to give some breathing space there because it's a JRPG, right? Even though it doesn't come from Japan, it is stylized as a JRPG.
Yeah.
It's like complaining about the fishy smell on sushi.
Yeah, you got to know what you're signing up for. It's an interesting decisions. I think that it's like it's one that had a very particular vision, I think, of where they thought the fun was going to be, and I think that they made interesting decisions to try and emphasize those things. So if it lands for you, it'll probably land especially well, and if there are things that you dislike, they won't land so like it knows what it's about.
Right.
Good enough for it. But that'll be a conversation for another time. But I'll keep my thoughts all stored up. We'll have lots of fun conversations, I'm sure.
Oh, gotta save some material. Are you are you got big plans for next weekend? Chris is kind of in the middle of the week, so I don't know what your weekend looks like.
Yeah, I think next weekend I'm probably going to be busy with things with family. I'm driving a little ways away to visit folks and spend time with them. So I'll be gone for a bit, but I imagine getting back into January, I'll be around as per usual.
Okay. Well, have fun then.
Thank you.
You know where I'll be at.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll see you in the server. I hope the streams go well. Y'all get some good cities of heroing or villaining, as you like.
Yeah. Yeah, I do need to play some more Unicorn Overlord today downstairs too. Sit in my Easy Boy lounge chair, and I need to finish that game. Really need to finish that game. That's a game that's unique.
Yep.
Well, have fun.
Yep. Thanks. I'll see you
later. Come on. Right here.
Is anyways in the chat there? Everyone in chat, are y'all playing City of Heroes? Are you doing something fun this weekend? There in YouTube land? I ran around Atlas giving influence when I hit max because all 8 of my tunes are maxed and I have no email room. You could roll up a 9th character. You have 1,000. I don't know how you guys are waddling in so much money though. I don't know how you do that. I mean, I think even sitting on farms that would take a while. And I feel like if you're doing that all on farms, the solution is simple. Don't do so many farms. Why would you do so many farms? That just doesn't make any sense, really. So I don't think you really get that kind of level of richness by just playing the game normally. Unless you got a lot more free time than I do, I suppose. Let's see what we got here. Show detail 33, 16. Confounding chant. Confounding chant. Confounding chant. This powers damage time will extend its duration. Confounding chant. Let's try a little bit more confounding chant, shall we? Domination. Feel the power. You've been dominated. That's how a dominator does it. Soloing doms. Difficult, but highly rewarding. So did you get your character all set up?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm playing right now. I'm trying to get to level. I'm on 17, working toward 18. Trying to get used to using setting down a title pool first before I do anything else. So I get that debuff on everybody, and then throw. I'm not really liking the white cap teleport to the area there and beating up on people. That threw me off the first time I casted it. I was like, whoa, what the hell, why teleport? And I read it like, that's self-teleport. I'm like, okay, that's why.
I usually, like in a normal perfect D world, I do the other buff first, right? Laying down the water, stuff like that. Maybe throw out a heal because they're starting to get a little bit of damage, and then I'll teleport in and then fall back. Because you get some knockback with it and stuff, so the idea is that you're disrupting them by going in there and jumping into all their faces and knock them back, and then just fall, and then just fall back. I mean, by that point, most of my stuff is on a little bit of a cooldown anyways, so spending a hot second falling back, just fits in nice and well with the rotation. I know it also has like a little bit of an impact on probably things to hits and things like that, but
I wish there was the debuff icons on the target so I knew they were getting debuffed. It's weird that we don't have that. We have every single buff on our characters and our pets.
Nope.
But nothing on the enemies.
You got to mentally imagine it. No, what I really like is, well, that's a pretty interesting outfit. What I really like is, or the way I really feel it is, when you do enough fights with your wolves and okay, they really struggle against like lieutenants or these type of groups when I don't use these powers. And then in another similar fight, you use those debuffs and you just see a big change in their performance and their survivability. That's how you kind of feel, okay, that's the buffs hard at work. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but things are working.
I would agree with you on that one, yep. God,
yeah.
Freaking disco lights make this place...
It would be nice. It would be nice if they did show more details, though. And I'm always a big fan of RPGs showing more details.
That was a dead end.
Alright guys, for those of you on the stream, I'm going to head out for now. I will catch you guys not next week, probably tomorrow. So thank you guys for watching the stream. You have a